Football old school, gridiron shove. Young men who play the game like the old monsters of the midfield. Now, it's off to Kansas. Folks here have survived droughts, tornadoes, all of Mother Nature's adversities. Today, the Jayhawks host another old adversary, the 8th-ranked Cornhuskers. If the Huskers are planning on a Big 12 championship, they must look the Jayhawks straight in the eye. Two teams that have been going at it for decades. 8th-ranked Nebraska against Kansas. Now let's see who's got the right stuff on Fox Sports Net.
Of Nebraska fans have made their way to Lawrence, Kansas to support their Huskers in a Big 12 showdown with Kansas. It is an absolutely perfect October night for football in the Heartlands as the number 8 Nebraska Cornhuskers look to keep their Big 12 title hopes alive, and Kansas looks for their second straight victory. And let's take a look at the North standings in the Big 12. Kansas State already a winner today. This is a must-win situation for Nebraska as Kansas State and Nebraska looking forward to their showdown on November the 13th. Hello again, everybody. Along with Artie Gigantino, I'm Ron Thulin. Now, Nebraska comes into the game after that disappointing loss to Texas. And, of course, Kansas coming in on a high after beating Missouri.
Well, that means Kansas is fired up. This re-energized this whole Kansas season, Ron. And the other thing it did for Nebraska, it causes them to refocus because that was a tough loss because they kind of shot themselves in the foot. I'm not sure statistically when you look at that game, you said Texas outplayed Nebraska. I think Nebraska shot themselves in the foot in that game.
Well, it was a tough way in a number of ways for Nebraska. More importantly, a lot of players got banged up in the football game, and Frank Solich has had to make some changes tonight.
And the biggest change he's had to make is move tailback Dan Alexander to the fullback position. In the last 2 weeks, Alexander has rushed for over 100 yards in each game. He'll line up at that fullback position, Correll Buckholter will start being the tailback tonight. Look for these guys to try to pound the ball up inside, Ron.
Well, when Terry Allen took over as head coach of Kansas, he was known as a coach that likes a high-powered offense, but injuries have really forced him to change personnel, style, and also a quarterback.
Yeah, Dylan Smith comes in as a junior college transfer from Santa Monica College in California. Already this year, he's thrown for almost twice as many touchdown passes as the entire Kansas offense did a year ago. But one thing about Dylan Smith that the coaches love is his mobility and his athletic ability and his ability to throw the football. So he's an exciting guy, and he'll be challenged tonight by that great Nebraska defense.
Now, this is the longest continuous series in Division 1A. This is the 94th meeting between these two teams. And for the last 30 years, it has been all Nebraska. They have won 30 straight, 10 have been shutouts. The Jayhawks have their game faces on. They're thinking upset. Nebraska wants their Big 12 title hopes to stay alive. The Huskers and the Jayhawks are next. Church is a tradition that goes back 35 years. It has been the foundation for its 5 national championships and the basis and the constant for the team of 1999. Currently the 8th best in all of college football. They are quick, they are physical, and they are very stingy. For more on the black shirt defense, we send it down to the 3rd member of our broadcast team. Here is Eric Clemens.
All right, Ron, and of course, speed is the key to the success of the Black Shirts defenders, especially at the linebacker position, and it's spearheaded by the man in the middle, number 13, Carlos Polk, 6'2", 250-pound junior middle linebacker out of Rockford, Illinois. He leads or is second on the team with 43 tackles. He has 7 tackles for losses, which leads the team, and also leads the team with 3 quarterback sacks. He spearheads a unit that flies to the football with great speed and abandon, and the defensive unit of Nebraska ranks in the top 8 in the major 4 defensive categories. So you know Coach Frank Solich counts on them to be very stingy, whoever the opponent is. Guys?
And there is the head coach of Nebraska, the former All-Big 8 performer and co-captain of the team back in '65. Artie, his game plan.
His game plan is he's got to get more productivity out of the fullback position. Dan Alexander will play that spot tonight. The second thing, there's a lot of injuries on this Nebraska team, and those replacements that we're going to talk about have to play good tonight. tonight. And lastly, Nebraska's got to focus on winning this football game.
And for Terry Allen, his game plan?
He needs to have some early success. He did it against A&M. He preached all week his team believes they can beat Nebraska. They got to have success early. They got to run the football inside. And lastly, they must improve their secondary play. Nebraska is deadly with the play-action passing game.
Well, Dan Hayden-Felt set to kick it away. Bowles and Neesmith are back for Kansas. This is the 20th best kickoff return team in the country. They are explosive. Kicking with the win, it'll be Neesmith. Bowles. 15 up to the 16-yard line, and the Nebraska defense will stack them up right there. Well, this Kansas offense has had to overcome injuries, and they've had to change a lot of people. Zach Wagner started the first 4 games, and Dylan Smith, this will be his 5th start. He has thrown for 9 touchdowns, as we mentioned earlier, and he is a very mobile quarterback, Artie.
He can make things happen. The thing that's hurt him is he wasn't here for spring practice, but he's made great progress.
Winbush and Moran Norris in the backfield. Now, Winbush is split out wide. Norris straight behind the quarterback. He has the football. Will try the right side. Nothing doing. As we take a look at that Kansas offensive line, Chris Enneking, the senior out of Lawrence, Kansas. He will be anchoring that center spot. He is a young man that came to this program as a walk-on. He has played every position, and he is the steadying force of that offensive line. And at running back, keep an eye on David Winbush, the junior out of Killeen, Texas, been hampered by injuries. It's going to be a rush by committee, however, tonight.
And you're going to see a lot of variety in formations as you see here Kansas getting lined up.
3 wide receivers to the left, nobody in the backfield. Penalty flag is thrown. They get it over to Winbush. Tries to shake a tackle, doesn't get very much.
That time Winbush lined up in the slot, and the fullback, Moran Norris, lined up as a wide receiver with no backs in the backfield.
Al Dowden, our referee this evening, will be calling all the shots for anybody wearing a striped shirt. Yeah, let's take a look at the black shirt defense. Number 3 in the NCAA. Kyle Vandenbosch, ankle injury versus Texas. We're not sure how much he's going to be playing. Eric Johnson will be getting his first start since injuring his knee in the 2nd game of the year. He's been a 2-year starter. And in the secondary, they call him the cleanup man, Clint Finley, the free safety out of Cuero, Texas. And there is Clint Finley. His father is a high school football coach. Penalty, by the way, was declined. That sets up a 3rd down and 9 situation for the Jayhawks. Only 38% on the year. They've had trouble on their first possessions all year. In fact, in the first quarter, they have not scored a touchdown in 6 of the 8 games, and you can see what they've done on first possession.
And that statistic and that graph there really frustrates head coach Terry Allen.
Winbush in motion. Nebraska brings 4, pressure on. Smith gets away. Dumps it off to number 88, David Hurst, the tight end, and he will be right at the first down marker, probably a little bit short. Kyle Vandenbosch showed no ill effects of that ankle injury as he put the pressure on.
I talked about Smith's ability to turn a negative play into a positive because of his feet. That was a great example of his ability to escape danger.
And they're going to have to measure this one.
And the one thing Dylan Smith has brought to this Kansas offense, Ron, is it's put a little bit more pressure on the offensive line because being more of a movement-type quarterback, they have to hold their blocks a little bit longer.
And Zach Wagner was more of a stand-up quarterback, just stay in the pocket. He was able to move. Kansas did get the first down.
But give the quarterback all the credit in the world for his escapability on that one.
That is a moral victory for the Jayhawks. Dylan Smith, 6'1", 190 pounds. He's got a great arm, sort of has a JUCO mentality that they're trying to break him, but the young man only got here in August, and this is a complicated offense to try to learn.
And once again, you see no backs in the backfield right there. 3 or 4 receivers to the top of your screen.
5 being rushed. They swing it out to Harrison Hill, who drops it. When they have those 4 wide receivers, Smith has the option of calling the play at the line of scrimmage.
And what he wants to do, he wants to take a quick drop on that because you're trying to spread out Nebraska's defense. It's 1-2 and throw the ball outside to Hill. Now he's got to catch the ball, obviously, and run it up the field. But that's a good example of a 2-step drop that time by the quarterback, Dylan Smith.
Well, Terry Allen thought they wanted to try to bang it on Nebraska. So far, they're not. They're putting it up again. Smith, three-step drop, trips, fumbles. And it'll roll out of bounds at the 12-yard line. It'll be Kansas's football. That'll be a loss of about 14 on the play.
At the 11.
Smith is slow to get up.
Nebraska is audibling to a blitz every time they line up. Kansas does, with no backs in the backfield. You're going to see Tony Ortiz, number 37, come off the corner and just level Dylan Smith after he gets knocked down by a leg of one of his own linemen. But Nebraska is pressuring this empty formation.
Well, that brings up 3rd down and a bunch. 3rd down and 25. Exactly what the Kansas coaches did not want to happen. Now they'll have somebody in the backfield. Winbush at the tailback spot. They run the draw. Winbush just trying to give their punter some running room. He makes his way up to the 15-yard line. And punting against a pretty stiff wind will be Kansas. Eric Johnson on the stop. There's Terry Allen in his 3rd year, the former quarterback at Northern Iowa. Said he was an option quarterback who tried to throw the football. Even had a tryout at the NFL with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said the highlight was getting a locker next to one of the Selmans.
Nebraska is dangerous, not only in the punt return part of this game, but also in the punt block. They've blocked 4 punts already this year.
Ofanio set to kick it away to Walker. Line drive should be returned at the 47-yard line. Hit immediately and dropped as Walker. A 38-yard kick, only 2 on the return. And the Nebraska offense, 8th best rushing in the NCAA. They're led, of course, by their quarterback, Eric Crouch, who had a big game in a losing effort last week versus Texas, threw for over 200 yards. He said, most of the blame I'm going to shoulder. I'm the quarterback. I should lead these guys. He had a couple of fumbles in the game that were costly, but he is quite a competitor, and it's been fun to watch his progression throughout this year. From the I formation, Alexander, the fullback. Crouch keeps it on the option. Still on his feet. That will be close to a 1st down before Carl Neesmith, out of the free safety, made the stop. The offensive line of Nebraska, Dominic Raiola, the sophomore out of Honolulu, Hawaii. 77 pancake blocks this year. That leads the team. And to the wide receiver spot, Matt Davison. He's the leading receiver, the junior out of Tecumseh, Nebraska. Had 6 receptions, 6 receptions away from the top 5 in Nebraska history. 2nd down, we'll call it 1 for the Huskers. Straight ahead with Buckhalter. He gets the 1st down with about 5 to spare. And the Kansas defense coming off that shutout of Missouri last week. Deion Rayford, the junior, leads the defensive line in tackles. He has to play big tonight. Andrew LeClaire at the linebacker spot, the sophomore from Mayville, North Dakota. He's the leading tackler. And in the secondary, Carl Neesmith, 2nd straight start at free safety. He's still learning this position. Look for Nebraska to try to take advantage of that and attack the secondary. 1st and 10, little razzle-dazzle. Bobby Newcomb trying to get to the outside, and he is going to be run out of bounds at the 39-yard line.
Nebraska is trying to get Bobby Newcomb involved in the game more. Pitching the ball on options, throwing him passes, but also giving him reverses coming back. You're going to see the ball given to Buckhalter. He turns around, gives it back to Bobby Newcomb, but the defense from Kansas, look at all those guys right there, do an excellent job of swarming the football. That's good, fast defense against a great athlete like Bobby Newcomb.
2nd down and 14. This is a team that had 5 fumbles last week versus Texas. They lost 3. Some running room. Buckhalter gets to the 35, and he is going to be stacked up. Maybe got a yard on the play. Nate Dwyer, who will be rotating with John Williams at that nose tackle spot for Kansas on the stop.
The pitch is the key. If you can rally to the pitch and make the quarterback pitch the ball, which is exactly what Kansas is going to do today. You see Chaz Murphy, 97, take the quarterback, and his partners all run and gang up on the pitch man. Again, a good example of the speed of the Kansas defense and the inspiration in which they're playing with today.
3rd down and 9. Wilson Thompson to the right. Crouch looks right, looks over the middle, and it is almost intercepted. right into the hands of Andrew LeClaire, who was looking for his first interception of the year, and he couldn't get the meat hooks on it.
And you know, he was there. He saw that the whole time. Crouch did not see the big 6'6", 245-pound sophomore. You're going to see him to the left of your screen, number 55, and Eric Crouch never, ever sees him. He was going to throw a curl behind him to Bobby Newcomb. But you know what? You got to catch those. And the guys are not going to stop kidding him all week, because when you get one in your hands, you got to catch it.
Well, his dad was Mike LeClaire of the NFL. Kansas has nobody deep. Hayden Felt to kick it away. 6th best in the NCAA. Great coverage. Matt Davison,
It's taken by Nebraska at the game.
Hayden Felt gets it. Keo Craver comes up with the catch right at the 2-yard line. No score. We're in the first.
Blitzes, and he runs all over the field.
Pickup of 3, 2nd and 7. 2 wide receivers to the top of your screen. Little razzle-dazzle. They fake it. They keep it on the ground. Left side, barreling his way. It is Norris. Carlos Polk, the junior out of Rockford, Illinois. Had to just tackle him by the ankles. Polk, the heart and soul of this defense.
He's inspirational, but he's big, and he's fast, and he can get off of blocks. That's a tremendous, tremendous job of seeing the ball. As we look at Moran Norris, I told you he's big, 6'2", 245 pounds, and he is a tank, and he is tough to bring down.
Well, when they put him in the backfield, Terry Allen thought it would be a temporary fix, but the guy's having success. He's staying in the lineup. Smith buying some time by rolling to the right, looking for the home run toss, has a man overthrown. Intended for Harrison Hill. Keo Craver on the coverage. Now we saw his arm strength because he was throwing into a pretty stiff wind.
And he was throwing on the move. That's the type of athlete he is. He thought he had somebody open. The coaches told us they want to throw the ball deep. You got to do it early just to put some fear into this Nebraska secondary.
Well, they tried to work him into the offense gradually. Injuries hit, and all of a sudden he's thrown into the starting role, and you can see the numbers so far this evening.
You know, don't forget, he threw 44 touchdown passes in 2 years at junior college.
People jumping all over the place on 2nd and 10, and they're going to be pushing it back. That'll go against Kansas.
And it looks like the tight end, Sean McDermott, number 85, moved a little bit too soon.
False start on the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
You know, that happens, Ron, a great deal when you're playing Nebraska's defense, because they get up on the line of scrimmage and they put so much pressure on you, you think they're coming all the time. And tight ends like McDermott and offensive linemen sometimes jump.
Now, one thing Kansas did against Missouri, and they would love to do against Nebraska, is shorten the game. But they're coming out winging the football tonight. 2nd down, we'll call it 15 with 9:21 in the first. Chandler in motion from the shotgun. Smith over the middle, has a man complete to Jason Gully, the tight end. Up to the 35 to the 36-yard line. Gully, the junior out of Denton, Texas, who was a starter last year. That is his 4th reception of the season. Julius Jackson on the coverage.
And when Gully catches the ball, he rambles down the field. He weighs 260 pounds, and he just runs away from Julius Jackson. Boy, that's a tough guy to bring down in the open field at 260 on a good day.
He looks a lot bigger than 6'3".
Yeah, he does. I was just going to say that. He's about 270, I think.
Good enough for another first down. A pickup of 17 on that play. Smith keeps it. Shaking and baking over the 40 to the 47-yard line. Kyle Vanden Bosch on the stop. A pickup of 11. Another Kansas first down. They're moving the football.
And this was the early success we talked about at the beginning of the broadcast that Terry Allen's football team and his offense needed, so they can get a belief that they can beat Nebraska. You got to be successful early in the game.
Well, we were wondering about an emotional hangover that Nebraska may have, because obviously they have a big game coming up next week. The Huskers do. And you know, the next couple of weeks are tough for them with Texas A&M and Kansas State. Still a lot of time left in this football game. 1st and 10, Smith feeling some pressure. Lets it fly right side, wide open at the 35-yard line. It is Chandler. He is one tough cookie.
Number 86, Michael Chandler.
Pickup of 19 on the play. This is a young man that back in February had some men break into his apartment. They shot him in the leg, and he's recovered from that. He's back on the football field.
Watch Smith now drop back and make this play. He's going to go back. He's going to take a look at the secondary. Nebraska is playing man-to-man. They run a wheel route on the top here, which allows Chandler to come open. Excellent design, but they just tricked the corner and the safety from Nebraska with the wheel route. Keo Craver has got to take the outside man on that as we get a good look at Michael Chandler.
Smith 5 of 8 throwing the football. And we're seeing something that has concerned Nebraska the last couple of weeks, and that's getting pressure from their defensive end spot. Charlie McBride saying, we haven't gotten any the last couple of weeks. We've got a timeout. 8:37 in the first. The Jayhawks are moving on the Huskers. Allen's troops started this drive on the 2-yard line, and Kansas has a history of long runs against Nebraska. 36 years ago, almost to the day, Gale Sayers, wearing number 48, went for a 99-yard touchdown run versus the Huskers. The bad news is Kansas lost the game 23-9. However, Gale, of course, inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame in 1977 at the age of 34. Youngest person ever elected into the Hall. And of course, Gale Sayers and John Hanel, former quarterback, gave the pep talk last week prior to the Missouri game. Got the team fired up. 1st and 10, ball on the 33. Norris in the backfield, straight ahead. Fighting his way to the 30-yard line, following behind the blocks of Enneking, Owen, and Hunt.
Terry Allen's offensive staff has done a good job so far in this first quarter of keeping these guys, the Nebraska black shirts, off balance. And that's what you have to do, because Nebraska is too fast. You got to hand the ball off inside, run the power play. You got to open it up with no backs in the backfield. You got to run a little shotgun. Frank Solich and Charlie McBride, the defensive coordinator, know that this game is not going to be easy tonight.
Smith with time again, overthrowing. Intended for Michael Chandler.
You know, this was a difficult chore for Dylan Smith to come in. He got here on August 1st and, you know, really learned the quarterback system. Most quarterbacks mature when they redshirt and then they play a little bit as a freshman or sophomore and then take over as a junior. But he's made remarkable progress since August 1st to right now in learning and being able to engineer this offense for Terry Allen.
Kansas has been successful so far tonight on 3rd down conversions. This is 3rd down and 7. Again, an empty backfield. Here comes the Huskers. Look out, and he is going to be dropped at the 40 by Steve Warren. 2nd sack of the evening. They didn't have any versus Texas last week.
When Nebraska sees the empty formation, those linemen just tear it back and go. As you look at number 96, Steve Warren, just go right by the center. Charlie McBride has referred to that man, number 96, as the best defensive tackle he has ever coached at the University of Nebraska in 23 years. And that's quite a statement.
The numbers on Joey Pelfanio, the punter, and he gets a high kick sailing down to the 5-yard line. Kansas trying to surround it. Did they get it? Yes, at the 1-yard line. They were knocking it around. It was touched by a bunch of people, and they may mark it up to the 3, but it doesn't matter. Great job by the special teams. The great defensive play.
You're going to see Weir, number 17, right there. He gets control of the ball right there, and his momentum carries it to the 1, which is why the officiating crew spots it on the 3-yard line, because they're saying he had control of it on the 3. That was a hard call for the officials because of the momentum.
Crouch will keep it. Trying to make something on that running game. You know, when you talk about stopping a Nebraska defense or offense, the first thing you want to do,
first thing you got to do is stop the quarterback, because the quarterback is the guy that makes it go. And Eric Crouch has been the guy that's the catalyst of this Nebraska offense this year. As he goes, so goes the offense.
Yeah, you try to stop the fullback first, then you get the quarterback, and that's exactly what they did on that play. Down at the 1-yard line.
Dennis Rogers, number 8, does a great job of getting up the field. When we talk to the defensive coaches from Kansas, they talk about penetration, 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 and that's exactly what happens. As you see Rogers, number 8, just chase down Eric Crouch from behind. When you have the handoff, like he fakes the ball to Alexander inside, the quarterback has got to slow down. Excellent, excellent penetration by the Kansas front.
That sets up a 3rd down and 11. Great shot from the backfield. Crouch looking to put it up. Has some time. He just barely gets out of the end zone. Pulled down to the 1-yard line by Chaz Murphy, the junior out of Galveston, Texas. What a defensive stand by Kansas.
And that was a play-action pass that Kansas was ready for. Nebraska, in situations like that, run one wide receiver on the pattern. But Terry Allen's defense was well prepared for that play in that situation.
Henry Childs set to return the kick. He is standing right at the 50-yard line. Dan Haydenfeld. Last week's game, the first time this year, he had an average under 40 yards. Here comes Kansas. They block it! Matt Jordan with the block. The freshman out of Junction City, Kansas. And the Jayhawks are on the board.
Worked diligently all week on blocking punts. The guy they wanted to feature was 27, Kareem High, but Jordan breaks through and he ends up being the guy that blocks the kick. You're going to see Jordan right there doing a great job of taking the ball off of Haydenfeld's foot. You're seeing a little twist inside, and the personal protector steps up, Brian Shaw, to block someone else, and Jordan comes free. Now, Kansas is going to be disappointed they didn't get a touchdown out of it and only a safety. But what this tells Frank Solich's team is, hey, Kansas has come to play. Again, it's early success in the first quarter. Another example of it.
Well, the Kansas coach is telling us yesterday that they saw something in the way Nebraska punts the football that it could be blocked. And Terry Allen was right. He said, we're going to come after it.
And the problem is when the ball is on the 1-yard line, you've only got 11 yards in which to operate because the punter's standing in the back. So the field gets reduced.
Childs and Harrison. This will be Henry Childs. Crosses the 40, still with some running room. Up to the 48-yard line, a return of 18. And again, Kansas with good field position will be operating with a short field. Local listings.
Look for Kansas here to try to make a big play.
They bounce out the left side. Moran Norris gets into Nebraska territory before he is ushered out of bounds at the 48-yard line. Mike Brown on the stop, the senior out of Scottsdale, Arizona.
And that's two good athletes competing in the open field. Norris, who's a big guy to tackle, and Mike Brown, who's the best tackler, arguably, on this Nebraska defense. But if you're Kansas now, you want to be able to capitalize either with a field goal or a touchdown on this great field position.
Well, Kansas is going to have to burn a timeout because Jason Gully, number 80, came running in, and I think they may have had too many men on the field. So instead of the substitution penalty, they'll burn a timeout.
And, you know, that's what happens when you're shifting personnel in and out all the time. Kansas uses between 4 and 5 tight ends each and every game. And it gets confusing sometimes because they not only line up in the tight end position, but also as a wide receiver sometimes.
Well, Kansas, that is the first points they have scored against Nebraska in a couple of years. They've been shut out the last 2 years. And Eric Clemens, I tell you, the excitement seems to be building among those wearing blue tonight.
All right, Ron, you know, every play is a battle in this football game to the Kansas Jayhawks, and they are cheering Rooting every play, and with every bit of success they have, everything's going nuts here on their bench. And the cheerleader is, of course, Terry Allen out on the field with no headsets and fists up in the air. And right now, things going well with them ahead 2-0. Back upstairs to you guys.
You know, after shutting out Kansas the last 2 years, you have to go back the last 4 meetings. Nebraska has outscored the Jayhawks. This is unbelievable. 180-10.
Amazing. Just absolutely. And we've done about 3 of those.
I think we have.
And it's just been totally dominant by the Nebraska football team.
Different story tonight. Look for some razzle-dazzle. There it is. Smith is wide open and is going to be intercepted. Great job by Mike Brown coming from that rover spot to pick up his 2nd interception. Smith was open for a moment.
You're going to see the little pitch now over here, and you're going to see Dylan Smith come back over here and be the throwback guy. He does a good job of faking, and you're going to see Brown read it perfectly, come up and make the big play. That's an excellent job, as you see Childs trying to throw the ball backside to Dylan Smith by Mike Brown of appearing in the picture. Good read by safety.
That's just what Nebraska needs to try to stop some of this Kansas momentum. But then on the carry, Dan Alexander is going to be stuck.
Ron, what they're doing for Kansas, Rogers, number 8, Marcus Rogers, is crowding the line of scrimmage from his inside linebacker position, and he's shooting the gap as the guards from Nebraska pull. And he's just grabbing legs in the backfield, whether it be the fullback or whether it be the quarterback. And he is creating havoc by penetrating.
And Mike Brown on the bench out of Scottsdale, Arizona. High school was Arizona's best running back, was also all-state baseball. Again, the running game is stopped. Buckhalter is stood up by Tim Bowers. From that outside linebacker spot, the junior out of Columbus, Ohio, the pre-med student, leads the teams and tackles for a loss this year.
He came as a defensive back. He's added 25 pounds, and now he's just an outstanding leader as a junior and a co-captain. You can see he's got 6 tackles for losses this year, and that was a picture-perfect tackle.
Nebraska only 13 yards on 9 rushing attempts, facing a 3rd down and 12. 2 wide receivers to the right, and Crouch is looking for him. The pass is tipped, incomplete. Intended for Matt Davison, but excellent coverage, not only by the secondary, but everybody wearing a blue jersey. This is hustle with a capital H.
Kansas is inspired. Watch all the blue shirts get around the football. The ball gets tipped up in the air by number 97, Chaz Murphy, but everybody is swarming around the football tonight for this Kansas Jayhawk defense. Dick Mosley, the secondary coach, told us yesterday his football team, his defensive football team, is ready to play. And he was right.
Chaz Murphy's big at 6'4", and he used every bit of that. Haydenfeld, again, last punt was blocked. Childs, run back to the 10. Dancing around, and he's going to have to take a seat after a pickup of 3. For a Dr. Pepper game break, let's send it to our College Football Saturday studios with Kevin Frazier.
That allows him to maybe be a little bit freer as a quarterback. When you look at Tech, remember, best special teams in the country, one of the top defenses in the country. It really helps him.
1st down and 10 from the 13. Chandler in motion. They keep it on the ground, straight ahead. It is Winbush, and that's the David Winbush that we come to love the last couple of years. This is a guy that didn't seem to have the confidence he had his first couple of years here at Kansas.
One of the reasons he's been injured, but watch Carlos Polk get taken out of the play that time by Enneking, the center, number 68. It was a delayed draw, which was why Polk hesitated a little bit, which allowed Enneking to get to him.
Now Winbush has got a concussion versus Colorado, has been trying to get over an ankle injury. 1st and 10 from the 25 for the Jayhawks. Winbush again, the right side, maybe gets 2 on the play.
You know, you talk about Winbush and the runners. Runners are a little bit like basketball players. When they're in a rhythm and they're hot, you want to give them the football. But when they're injured a little bit and get out of rhythm, sometimes it's hard for them to get going. And that's been the problem with David Winbush so far this year. Like you said, Ron, he's had 3 or 4 different injuries. It's been tough on him.
And I think he's lost confidence a little bit in his offensive line at times.
Yeah.
That happens.
You look tonight at the total offense. So far, the first quarter has been dominated by this Kansas offensive unit.
Norris moving around in the backfield. Smith tries to just dump it off, and he is hit immediately. Takes a seat intended for Norris. Later tonight, it's the Formula One Grand Prix of Japan live on Fox Sports Net. Eddie Irvine and Mika Hakkinen are neck and neck in the point standings. Every lap counts. The World Championship is at stake. That's Formula One Grand Prix of Japan live on Fox Sports Net tonight at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Pacific. Michael Schumacher has the pole position in that race. So you auto racing fans, remember, keep to the left and get back as fast as you can on those races.
Nebraska now in a nickel defense. Number 25, Joe Walker, in at the nickel spot.
3rd down and 7. Smith with some time rifles the ball up to the 34-yard line to Harrison Hill, the sophomore out of Wichita, Kansas. Depending on the spot, it looks like he will be about a yard short.
He is, and Terry Allen has elected to punt, and that's the wise decision here, because what you don't want to do is gamble on 4th and 1 this early in the game, not be successful, and you'll have a chance to lose your momentum. So that's a good call here by Terry Allen and his offensive coaches.
Why take a chance? They got rid of that one momentum swing when Nebraska came up with the interception on the little razzle-dazzle. Don't want to give Nebraska any opportunity. Melfanio, a line drive. Walker backing up at the 17. Makes his way up to the 34-yard line. 48-yard kick. 16 on the return.
You know, when you see football, not just players have responsibility. Watch this official right here get out of the way of Harrison Hill. That is an excellent, excellent job of an official being in the right spot, but not interfering with the play. That's good coaching by the director of the Big 12 officiating crew, Tim Mills.
I think it was self-defense.
He had it down perfectly. Good athletic ability.
He didn't want to eat the pigskin tonight.
Hey, that's dangerous in there.
I wouldn't do it. 1st and 10, ball on the 34-yard line. Crouch running the option. Kansas strings it out and drops him right at the line of scrimmage. Andrew LeClaire at 6'6", 245 pounds. That is what you have to do against the Huskers, defend the option.
And right now, Kansas is defending it perfectly. Watch LeClaire up inside here. He's going to see it. The ball gets to the outside. He's going to shuffle. He's going to shuffle. That is absolutely beautiful linebacker play. He stays square to the line of scrimmage. He gets up in the alley. He makes the hit because the pitch was taken away. Wow, was that nice.
Well, with 30 seconds left in the quarter and with the win, Eric Crouch is going to call a timeout. He has not had success running the football tonight and running the option. And LeClaire, of course, his father, member of College Football Hall of Fame. Played for the Cincinnati Bengals for over a decade. And the scouting report on Andrew LeClaire.
On the big fella out of North Dakota. He's got great range, and we just saw an example of his range. He excels in zone coverage. He intercepted here, had a pass thrown right to him in zone coverage early in the first quarter, and he calls the defensive audibles. This is a young man that is going to be an outstanding player at the end of this year, his junior and senior year here at Kansas.
Well, the Kansas defense that has been much maligned, 95th in the NCAA, they've been great all evening.
But you know what they're doing? They're coming up the field, they're being aggressive, and they're penetrating, and they're passionately running around. But the special teams are also helping them, obviously, when Jordan blocks his punt for his safety. Punt blocks, to me, are the biggest momentum changers in all of football.
And that has given Kansas a 2-0 lead, 30 seconds left in the half. 2nd down and 10 for the Huskers. Kansas showing blitz, bringing a lot of people. They throw it out in the flat, complete to Davison. He is going to be run out of bounds at the 43-yard line.
Tackled by number 10.
That'll bring up a 3rd down and probably 1. Davison sure-handed. 22 of the last 23 games, he's had at least 1 reception. Had a pretty good game versus Texas as he hauled in 4 passes. Trying to break into the top 5 in Nebraska history.
Mr. Consistency in the receiver corps from Nebraska.
3rd down and a yard. Straight ahead. Stuffed. Nothing doing. That Jayhawk defense that is 76th against the rush stopped them cold. 4th down for Nebraska. And that might be the last play of the quarter. And Nebraska, if they don't get the kickoff, and they won't, will have to be kicking into the wind to start quarter number 2.
Which is exactly what Terry Allen wanted.
Kansas has come up with a safety. It's Halloween Eve. And right now, the Jayhawks with the lead. Quarter 2 straight ahead. Dropped the temperatures a little bit, but the skies cleared off this afternoon, and it's a beautiful evening for football in Lawrence. And speaking of fronts, how about the Nebraska front?
Yeah, the Nebraska front is getting beat up here. Watch number 5, Carl Naismith, come into your picture and just make the hit in the backfield. That was a 9-man front that time by the Kansas defense, and Nebraska had no way to run. When you saw number 5 up there, he's the safety who was part of the front that time.
Now, Carl Naismith is, along with Kareem Hyatt, that free safety and strong safety spot. The coaches said these guys, they're not sure of anything because they're so young and they're just learning their position. Nebraska set to kick it away, 4th down and 2 as we begin quarter number 2. Haydenfeld gets a boomer into the wind. Kansas going to let this thing drop, and it'll roll out of bounds right at the 10-yard line. Excellent kick of 48 yards for Dan Haydenfeld, who's currently ranked number 6th in the NCAA.
And Kansas was fortunate because what you want to do in that situation is step up and fair catch it and not allow the ball to bounce. And that's exactly what Terry Allen is going to tell his punt return crew.
Now Terry Allen says my offense is not 3 yards in a cloud of dust, no question about it. He's made the necessary adjustments. They've struggled this year, but to Terry Allen's credit, he hasn't ducked the media, hasn't closed practice. He just knew his team was going to come out fighting tonight. Straight ahead with Mitch Bowles, the senior out of Las Vegas, bounces out to the outside, and he gets to the 12-yard line. And, you know, we talked to Charlie McBride last night, and one of the things he said was getting pressure from his defensive ends. And, Artie, I don't think they're getting it again tonight.
Well, they're rushing up the field, and that's why guys like Bowles can cut back underneath the defensive end. He starts off to the top of your screen, but you're going to see him come up underneath the defensive line. When you ask your defensive ends to pressure, they are vulnerable back inside.
Deion Booker came up with the stop. 2nd down and 3 after a pickup of 7 on that play. They're going to bang away. Nothing doing for a Dr. Pepper game break. Let's send it to our College Football Saturday studios with Kevin Frazier.
Florida State and Virginia, guys, and after a Chris Weinke pick, Seminoles having a tough time keeping up with the Joneses. Thomas, 16 yards to the promised land, jump. He's in. Shades of 95 in Charlottesville. You know, with the BCS poll, you can't mess around anymore, can you, Artie?
No, you cannot, because everybody is looking at the final score. And Florida State has not played well the last couple of weeks. Bobby Bowden better get it going. They've had a lot of distractions off the field down there.
3rd down and 4. Nebraska's coming. They swing it out to Hill. Looking for some running room. Sidestepping, jumping ahead. And it is going to be very close to, depending on the spot. Vandenbosch on the stop. Hill just did a good job of picking up positive yards. And he is going to be about a yard short. That's where the officials are spotting it.
The Nebraska defense is starting to settle in to the different formations that Kansas is showing them. That's why you're seeing some real speed now by the defense.
There's Charlie McBride, the defensive coordinator.
And Charlie talked about it the other night. He said, hey, we got to come down here and play fast, and we got to play fast early. And so far in the first quarter, they haven't, but they seem to be picking up their speed here at the beginning of the second quarter.
Walker standing on his 35 with the win. That is exactly where Walker will start. Trying to find the seam, finds a little opening up the right sideline, gets into Kansas territory. And we'll take a timeout. 13:03 left to play in quarter number 2. It is still a 2-0 Jayhawk lead.
Back on the field here at Memorial Stadium in Lawrence, Kansas, where the Jayhawks are leading 2-0. Their special teams come through with a block punt for a safety. Kansas dominating in total yardage. Nebraska's linebackers still flying around. Polk with 3 tackles so far. Ron and Artie?
All right, that's our national game summary. First down and 10 for the Huskers. Crouch looking for a little screen pass. Slipping and falling is Correll Buckhalter, and he will lose a couple of yards on the play. One thing that Kansas wanted to do is, obviously physically they don't match up man for man against the Nebraska defense, but they wanted to play assignment defense, Artie.
Well, they are playing assignment defense, and they're being simpler. Terry Allen told Ardell Wiegand and Dick Mosley, his defensive coaches, he'd rather do less on defense with, quote, better athletes. That is why Kansas has made some personnel adjustments here these last 3 or 4 weeks. They got their better athletes on the field.
On 2nd and 14, Crouch looks, almost picked off.
And that's one of the guys I was talking about right there, Mohamed Abdul-Rahim. He does a great job of reading the pass and almost picks it off. He hadn't been a starter, but he took over for Quincy Rowe. As we look like Crouch go back, we see Bobby Newcomb in sync. It's a perfect example of a quarterback being in sync with his wide receiver, but he forgets about Abdul-Rahim, who steps in front and quite honestly should have caught that pass.
Rahim was a starter last year for 7 games. Off his fingertips, you can see 3rd down tonight for Nebraska. Crouch rolling out. That will not be good enough for the first down, but it is complete to Davison.
Pass is complete at the Kansas 47.
Frankie Solich is going to punt here and go for field position.
And it'll be 4th down and 4, kicking into the wind again. Wind about 15 to 20 miles an hour. Not as bad as it was yesterday here, where it was about 25 to 30 miles an hour.
Now you're going to see this big senior from Des Moines try to put the ball up in the air and hopefully get his cover team to down it inside the 10.
Hayden Feld, a very strong leg. Line drive kick from the 13-yard line. And that is where Kansas will take over up to the 21-yard line. The Jayhawks have a safety, and they have the lead, 2-0. With 12:07 left in the second, Kansas leading Nebraska 2-0, and they have the football. 1st and 10. Smith, little play action pass, has some time, fires, passes complete up to the 34 to the 35-yard line. Again, it is Harrison Hill, guarded by Keough Craver. Hill, just a sophomore, also plays on the Jayhawk baseball team.
He does a great job when Smith is scrambling around because Nebraska is in man-to-man coverage of fighting to get free. And that's exactly what he does as he turns inside from Craver. Now, the quarterback sometimes pays the price for scrambling around, as you're going to see Smith just get knocked down. And it wasn't too hard, but he still gets knocked down to the ground.
Smith keeps it. Hurdles over 1 tackler and gets up to the 40-yard line. A pickup of about 5 on the play. And ironically, Dylan Smith told us yesterday, I don't want to be a running quarterback. I want to be a throwing quarterback.
I didn't believe him when he said that because he was kind of giving us a smirk. He's a guy that can do a lot of different things. And in this offense, he's going to have to run a little bit more. And tonight he's had 8 completions, but the key statistic here is to 6 different receivers. Plus he's avoided about 3 sacks already.
On 2nd and 5, Nebraska bringing a bunch of bodies. Smith swings it out to the left side, complete to Winbush. He lurches forward, good enough for a first down. And the Jayhawk fans are ecstatic, Eric.
All right, Ron, I'm here with the Hawk Club. Hey, 2 points is better than the nothing they've registered against Nebraska the past 2 years. They're excited and pumped up, and since an upset out here, hey, you never know, but they're already juiced up for it. I don't think they care what happens about it. Ron and Artie?
I think last week he was with a homecoming queen, and now he's with a bunch of frat guys. We got to work on that, Eric. First down and 10, ball on the 46-yard line for the Jayhawks. Smith rolling, buying some time, throws it out in the flat. The pass is complete. Spinning around after the catch is Anton Page, a redshirt freshman out of Royal Palm Beach, Florida. That is only his 4th reception of the year. He's got good size at 6'5".
Dylan Smith is rolling to his right. He never takes his eyes off a page. He's running, and it's harder to throw the ball when you're a righty to your right because the ball will take off on you. But not so in this case. He throws it perfectly, and the big 6'5" Page goes up and makes the catch. It's a great example of a quarterback sprinting and throwing on the corner.
Another first down. Norris wide open left side, bangs his way inside the 30, down to the 28-yard line for Moran Norris. A pickup of 16 on the play. Boy, that hole, I think you and I could have run through that.
A little backside handoff from the right of your screen to the left to big number Norris, number 33. Wow, look at that hole up in here by the offensive line. A little deception, but a great job by the Kansas offensive line of opening a hole. And when this guy gets rumbling down the field, he is tough to bring down.
Smith into the flat up to the 23-yard line. The pass is complete to Chandler. Pickup of about 5 on the play.
Kansas is throwing the football on first down, and they clearly have the Nebraska defense a little bit off balance.
Terry Allen, this is more the style of offense he ran in Northern Iowa. Charlie McBride's defense that gave up less than 300 yards to Texas is being riddled tonight. 2nd down and 4. Nebraska brings 5. Smith dancing around, throwing into the end zone as a man. Touchdown! David Hurst!
The mobility of the quarterback will get you out of trouble and create a potential negative play into a positive play. A perfect example of the agility and mobility of Dylan Smith.
Now they're waving the wheat in Lawrence, Kansas. The extra point with 9:12 left to play in the half. The snap is good, the hold is good, and the kick is good. 9:12 to play. Kansas is shocking Nebraska. They lead 9-0 after this break. We'll send it to our College Football Saturday studios with Kevin Frazier and Kellen Winslow. Stay with us. Thank you, gentlemen. This game, Frank Solich had a lot to lose. Terry Allen didn't have anything to lose, and his team is playing just like it. They lead 9-0. 9:12 to play in the second quarter. And this kick will not be returned. And the touchdown pass giving Kansas 9 points, the most points they've hung on Nebraska since 1994. Here it is again.
Jason Gully is the tight end to the top of your screen. Tony Ortiz is covering a man-to-man. Watch Gully come across the field, turn up the field, and lose Ortiz. But it is set up by the scrambling ability right here of Dylan Smith. Now watch what happens. You see Ortiz, he turns around, he doesn't see Gully slip behind him. Smith puts the ball right into Gully's hand. Great example, again, of quarterback mobility.
You can see the average yardage on first down. The big hit on Buckholder. You better check your dentures. He may have loosened him up just a little bit. And the scoring pass, David Hurst, his first touchdown on the collegiate level. It's a 22-yard reception. That's the first TD versus Nebraska since '96. Drive took less than 3 minutes, and it covered just a shade under 80 yards. Pickup of 5 on the play. They keep it on the ground. Buckholder hit, bounces out, slips and falls as he gets to the 34. That was yeoman's effort by Correll Buckholder, the junior out of Collins, Nebraska. Pickup of 8 on the play.
One of the things that's hurting Nebraska tonight, they have been unable to get their play-action pass game going, which has been so successful. That's why Kansas is playing 8 or 9 guys around the line of scrimmage and not allowing Nebraska to establish the running game.
1st and 10. Crouch will put it up. Incomplete. Intended for Aaron Galladay, the redshirt freshman out of York, Nebraska.
There was an example of the play-action pass, but obviously for Nebraska, it was unsuccessful.
Frank Solich knows this is a high-risk offense, but the option does give you that big play potential, but we haven't seen it yet, but you know it's in their bag.
And since Frank Solich has taken over this football team and the offense, they have opened it up a little bit more. But these guys on this Kansas defense tonight are denying Nebraska everything, not only the finesse plays and play action, but the power running game and the option.
2nd and 10, Crouch is going to be sacked. Johnson with his first sack of the evening, the 3rd sack of the year.
Marcus Rogers is all over the place. Watch him right here. He's going to come up the field, and he's going to be part of the pressure inside on Crouch. He's the guy that initially makes Crouch step out of the pocket and step into the sack. Marcus Rogers is playing like an all Big 12 linebacker this evening.
They allowed 7 sacks the previous 2 games. On 3rd and 13, Crouch barely gets it off to Newcomb, and he takes a hit. He is absolutely detonated by Carl Neesmith. That'll leave a mark.
Carl Neesmith was inserted into the into the starting lineup last week against Missouri. This guy will be a National Football League player someday. What a hit.
Oh, my.
6'3", 215 pounds, out of Butler Community College from Jackson, Florida. Boy, is he a good football player. Wide receiver and a quarterback, Ron, in junior college.
Boy, he's got some hit on him.
He's got some pop.
Hayden Felt looking for Henry Childs. A good high kick. It'll be short. Nebraska gets a bounce, and it continues to roll inside the 20. They get a great break as the ball is going to be stopped at the 13-yard line. A 53-yard kick for Dan Haydenfeld. This is a young man that in practice earlier this year had a 93-yard kick, so you know he has a very strong leg. Well, Sunday at 9 p.m. Kansas 1st and 10 from their own 14-yard line, leading 9-0. Smith holds on to the football and takes a seat back at the 9-yard line. Eric Johnson, the senior out of Phoenix, Arizona, the 3rd Husker sack of the night, and also his 3rd sack of the year.
You know, Johnson, as you talked about before, missed a couple games due to a knee injury, but he's come back and he's played well last week, and he's playing well so far tonight. That was a covered sack that time. The secondary from Nebraska blanketed the Kansas receivers. There was nowhere for Smith to throw the football.
Nebraska defense ranked in the top 8 in 4 categories.
You see Nebraska's defense now walking up and playing man-to-man.
Hesitation. Bowles crosses the 10, and the boom is lowered on him by Craver. Brown stood him up. Craver took him home.
Keough Craver out of Halton, Texas, is going to be a phenom, to quote George Darlington, the secondary coach. He's got all the athletic ability you look for in a corner. He was a running back in high school. I wonder what position those guys are going to play in high school.
The guy on the right's going to be a lineman.
And the guy on the left's going to be a quarterback. He's too good looking.
Nebraska traveled a lot of people for this football game. 3rd down and 12, 5:05 left in the half. Bowles goes wide to the right. They keep it on the ground with Norris. Crosses the 15 up to the 17-yard line, and he is pushed back by Johnson and Polk. And Kansas will be forced to kick it away. Best defensive stand by Nebraska so far this evening.
One of the things the coaches discussed with us was because of the injuries, a lot of the Nebraska players were limited this week in their ability to practice. And I think that's showing a little bit here, especially early in the game. This is a situation now where Nebraska could come after the punter and try to block the punt in an effort to make a big play. And you see him moving around in there.
Snaps a little bit high. Calfanio gets it away. Newcomb at the 31-yard line. Has the wall. Gets a block. Cuts back. Still with running room. And he is going to be corralled inside the 40 down to the 30-yard line. Bobby Newcomb did a great job just getting away from the blue shirts.
And he set up some great blocks. But this is why Bobby Newcomb wanted to go back to playing wing, because he loved to return punts as well as catch passes. And you see his great athletic ability in the open field in making tacklers miss because of his ability to cut back on a dime.
Well, Chad Colner, the senior out of Salina, Kansas, who started at free safety last year, was injured on the play.
And he just got nailed on a cutback block.
Well, the return was 29 for Bobby Newcomb. Well, get all the football news, highlights, and analysis you can handle as we bring you in-depth. I think the bell may be ringing. Not sure where the phone is. Nebraska, short field to work with. 1st and 10 from the Kansas 39-yard line. They keep it on the ground, and the Jayhawks are there to stack them up. Loss of 1 on the play.
The Kansas linebackers are doing a tremendous job tonight. Every time a guard pulls, they are shooting the gap and getting into the backfield and creating penetration and disruption in the backfield. It's an excellent defensive scheme by Ardell Wiegand and Dick Mosley, two of the defensive coaches. Wiegand's the defensive coordinator. Mosley is the secondary coach.
2nd down and 11. Crouch into the flat. Pass is complete. Immediately hit and dropped is Matt Davison. Davison having a good night tonight with a couple of catches. You know who's been very quiet tonight is the big tight end Tracy Wistrom. He's had a couple of big games. He's good for a big play, but they haven't thrown to the tight end yet.
No, and you know, one of his problems has been he's a guy that we talked about at the beginning who might not play as much because of his injury. He's got a hamstring injury that has obviously slowed him down. But you are so right. When he is in the game, he's a threat. He averages over 30 yards per reception, and that's just fantastic numbers for a tight end.
Well, Andrew Davison tackled Matt Davison on that. Straight up the middle as they try to use a little deception is Correll Buckhalter, and he gets the 1st down on 3rd down and 2. They looked a little bit like Iowa State there, everybody running around in the backfield, didn't they?
Right, and you hand the ball off and then you carry through with the fake to the guy coming around. It's almost like a single wing play. You hand the ball off to Buckhalter and you fake it to someone coming around. What it does, it makes the defense respect every fake from then on in terms of the ball being faked into the line of scrimmage.
Inside of 2.5 to play in the half.
Here's
Kansas
an audible.
leading 9-0.
Here's an audible at the line of scrimmage to an option.
Crouch with the pitch. Pads are popping right at the 20-yard line. Bilal Cook, the junior out of Duquesne, Pennsylvania, put the hit on Buckhalter. Neesmith was also there.
The pads and the noise of football. I tell you, Neesmith does a great job of coming up and putting the wood to Buckhalter. I tell you, this guy is going to be a star as soon as he learns how to play on a consistent basis, which he's learning in a hurry tonight.
On 2nd and 5, Buckhalter, right side, big hole, inside the 5. Penalty flag is thrown by the referee in the Nebraska backfield. And it's going to be a hold against the Huskers. It's coming back. Well, one thing that Nebraska had problems with early in the year, penalties, the last couple of games, their average has dipped a lot, but they're victimized on this play.
When a defensive front like Kansas is stunting and blitzing all the time, it forces linemen.
Holding on the offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of foul. Repeat, 2nd down.
Sometimes when they're getting beat, Ron, to reach out and grab, and that's exactly what happened that time.
First penalty on the Huskers this evening.
And when the offensive linemen at Nebraska are graded, they're graded on number 1, sacks allowed, number 2, perfect plays, number 3, pancakes, and number 4, offensive line penalties.
2nd down and 14, 1:22 to play in the half. From the shotgun. Crouch rolling, firing, incomplete, intended for Davison again. Just a reminder, coming up at halftime, our Nissan halftime report. We ask you to join Kevin Frazier and Kellen Winslow with scores and highlights. And they'll talk about the BCS madness. And my goodness, is it that? And, of course, Texas with a last-second field goal to beat Iowa State. Dan McCarney's team, they could have pitched the 10 early in that ball game, and they never did. Came fighting back. But Texas wins it in an exciting finish. They'll have all the highlights on the Nissan halftime report. 3rd down and 14. Alexander and Buckhalter in the backfield. Pass is complete at the 20-yard line. Will be about 6 yards short of the first down. Davison again becoming the favorite target of that man.
And Frank Solich is elected to go for the field goal here because what he wants to be able to do is go in at halftime with some points on the board. Obviously, he'd rather have a touchdown, but he knows the value of points, especially in a game that's going to look like, Ron, it's going to be very close.
Josh Brown, the freshman, the true freshman out of Foyle, Oklahoma, 5 of 7 this year. The holder is Frankie London. And a penalty flag is going to be called. It was moving around, and they're going to move him back even farther.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
You know, you look at Nebraska tonight, they look a little lethargic. You know, they had an emotional loss a week ago. They've got a big game next week with Texas A&M. They took a bus down here to Lawrence. They look a little lethargical and flat tonight.
31 is where it's spotted. It'll be a 41. This would be his longest of the year, and it had come close. His longest was 37, but Josh Brown didn't get the whole foot into it. And Kansas is held with 1 minute left in the half. You would love to be a bug on the wall in that man's locker room at halftime.
Well, knowing Frank Solich, though, like we do, he will go in and make the adjustments and be very matter-of-fact about it. I think some of the defensive coaches, like a Charlie McBride, or offensive coach like a Ron Brown, might get up and start throwing some chairs around. But Frank Solich will remain even-keeled.
Well, Frankie London's hold was okay. I think he just missed it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's a good snap in the perfect hole, and it's just off to the right.
Well, Kansas takes over with 60 seconds left in the half. You just don't want to have a brain cramp at this point.
And you want to be able to hold on to the football. That's the most important thing. Even if you end up punting, which I don't believe they will, you want to make sure you secure the football.
Well, Terry Allen is very successful when his teams lead at halftime. He is 56-1.
That's Kansas and Northern Iowa, both places combined. And I'll tell you, that statistic doesn't lie. Someone does a great job at halftime, and it's that man right there, Terry Allen. But that's an amazing stat.
Kohler being led off. We'll try to get an update on his condition. Inside of 20 seconds. Smith's just going to take a knee. What a shocker. The number 8 team in the country is trailing the Kansas Jayhawks, who are a huge underdog coming into this football game. A safety by the Jayhawks, a touchdown pass from Smith, and they lead 9-0. This is a huge shock, and Eric Clemens is with the coach who's leading right now. Eric?
Boy, I tell you what, you guys were battling each play out there in the first half. You must be very proud of your team. First of all, why have you been so successful in the half, and what's going to be your message at the break, Coach?
Well, in order to beat Nebraska, you have to believe you can beat Nebraska. And our kids believed it, and we came out. Now, whether we hold on, I don't know, but we came out, played hard, and that's what you ask them. Get something going early, and it'll be a fun second half. We're going to go, what I'm going to tell them is let's go play the second half like we did the first.
Terry, good luck to you in the second half. Terry Allen is 56-1 in his career when his teams have led at halftime. Let's see if he can hold on for this one right now. Time for the Nissan halftime report, and our hosts, Kellen Winslow and Kevin Frazier. Guys.
Kansas beat Nebraska. Terry Allen was 11 years old. Frank Solich was a coach at Southeast Nebraska High School. Still a lot of time left, but Kansas leads Nebraska at halftime 9-0 because of this man, Dylan Smith.
And we talked about him being an active quarterback with a deceptive arm. He moves around, he throws the ball well on the move, and he can make a potential negative play into a positive by moving around.
And Eric Clemens, you've talked to Frank Solich. Words of wisdom from Frank at halftime.
Ron, I certainly did talk to Coach Solich. He said, listen, we just got to win individual battles. We're getting beat in every phase, especially on the interior line when we're on offense and they're on defense. If we start doing that and take advantage of opportunities, we'll be all right in the second half, guys.
We'll keep an eye on that. Craver and Walker are back to receive the kick, and the wind's blown over the ball off the tee. Walker far side.
You know, you look at this first half, and statistically, Nebraska rushed for only 34 yards in the first half. And Kellen Winslow is right. I think Nebraska's got to come out and just forget the finesse part of this game and just pound it up inside against this Kansas front.
With the win, the kick 5 yards deep. Walker will take a knee. The first half possessions for Nebraska look like this.
Well, and Frank Solich and the offensive coaches are not happy about that because Nebraska's usually 5 out of 7 in terms of scoring in the first half. But it's a great job. You got to give all the credit to the Kansas defense of getting up the field and not allowing the rhythm of the offense from Nebraska to get going.
And you can see the numbers on Crouch: 35 yards passing, 6 rushes, 4 yards. Alexander has 1 carry for 1 yard for the Huskers. Well, they're going to throw on first down. Crouch with some time going for Davison. He has him there at the 35. Penalty flag is thrown as Davison is down at the 18-yard line. The penalty flag was thrown at the 45.
And that's the other thing that they never got going in the first half was the play-action passing game, sucking up the secondary and throwing the ball behind them, which is what Kansas was nervous about all week long.
We have a sideline warning against Kansas. They're first.
Well, the play stands for Davison.
It's a play-action pass in the backfield. You're going to see Crouch throw the ball, and Matt Davison get behind the secondary. Number 5, Carl Neesmith, thinking too much that time about the run, and the ball is thrown perfectly to number 3, Matt Davison.
63 yards on the reception. Davison with his 5th reception of the evening. 1st and 10. Ball on the 17-yard line for the Huskers. Straight ahead, trying to run the football with Buckhalter. The Kansas defense is there. You know, one of the things we talked to Terry Allen about yesterday was, does his team have the ability to overcome a bad play or some kind of bad circumstance?
Well, you're going to find out right here. And so far, what they've done so well on defense is get 8 or 9 guys around the line of scrimmage. The negative of that theory, though, is that you are vulnerable to the long pass. But all week long, they talk to their players about, hey, if you give one up, we got to come back and keep that belief there.
On 2nd and 8, they go with Alexander. Fumble! Kansas has the football. Alexander has been known to fumble. Andrew LeClaire was there. Davison was there. More importantly, the ball belongs to the guys in blue.
And Alexander had not carried the ball but one time in the first half, and the ball gets stripped out by number 16, Tim Bowers. And there's a bunch of blue jerseys, but Andrew LeClaire looks like he comes up with the ball. By the Kansas defense now tonight, 11 tackles for losses and 3 sacks. They are really doing a great job of penetrating the Nebraska offensive line.
Gully playing the fullback. Norris gets up to the 2-yard line, and he is going to be dragged back. It will not be a safety. Forward progress will be at the 1.5-yard line, but Gully, the big tight end out of Denton, Texas, was lined up in the fullback spot.
And that's their big backfield. Obviously, Gully's a blocker going against Frank Solich's black shirt defense, but it's 500 pounds of backfield for Terry Allen and his offensive set when Gully's in at fullback. Now, Gully comes out of the game. You look for Norris now to be the single setback or the fullback with Wimbush at the tailback position.
Spinning is Wimbush right at the line of scrimmage. Nothing doing. The black shirts are there to meet him with force. Wills was there. Aaron Wills, the senior out of Omaha.
And Aaron Wills is another guy. As you look at number 81 on the bottom here, that has been slowed up by injury. Tony Ortiz, number 37, into the play. Big old number 96, Steve Warren, coming across with number 70, Jason Lord. That is black shirt defense right there.
Absolutely. Third down, we'll still call it 10. Smith lofting it up, has a man, and it is overthrown, intended for Michael Chandler. And the black shirts have held, and Kansas will have to punt from their own end zone.
And that's a fade pattern against Ralph Brown, who's an All-American in his own right. The reason this is a good call here is that even if it's incomplete, the ball is very difficult to intercept, and it goes out of bounds. But you saw number 22 had blanket coverage. Dylan Smith made the right throw there because it got out of bounds.
Well, Nebraska has blocked 4 kicks this year. Pilfanio standing right on the end line.
And remember now, he's only got 10 yards or 11 yards because the ball's on the 1.
Here comes Nebraska, and it is blocked. But Kansas gets a break as it doesn't stay in the end zone. It goes out of bounds at the 23-yard line. Greg List, the senior out of Valentine, Nebraska, got a hand on it.
And that's what I was talking about. When the ball is on the 1-yard line, it's only 11 yards to the punter. It's normally 14 or 15. Now watch number 25 List get into your picture right here and do a great job of taking the football off the punter's foot.
That's an unlucky end zone.
I know.
Kansas blocked the punt there. Now Nebraska has, but Kansas really gets a break here because the ball still was able to go about 22 yards up to the 23.
But the field position is just outstanding.
Straight ahead running the football. Coral Buckhalter again. Kareem High, the junior out of Garland, Texas, on the stop.
Nebraska needs to score here because that will get them back into this football game. A week ago against Texas, they fumbled 3 times inside the 20 and once on the 1-yard line going in to score. Nebraska desperately needs to score here.
You can see the red zone opportunities for the Huskers this year. Crouch rolls right, has a man into the flat. First down, Nebraska at the 11-yard line. Bobby Newcomb on the reception. Andrew Davison on the coverage.
One of the things that Nebraska likes to do inside the 20 or so-called red zone is to run sprint-out type passes like you just saw, but also run an abundance of option. They like to run the option down here because it gives their quarterback, Eric Crouch, a decision and a choice.
Alexander and Buckhalter in the I formation. Buckhalter banging inside the 10-yard line down to the 9, and Marcus Rogers, a sophomore out of Dallas, puts the pads on Buckhalter to bring him down, and a penalty flag has been thrown right at the line of scrimmage, right where the play ended. And I think it's against Nebraska because they're walking backwards.
Dead ball, unsportsmanlike after the play against the offense. 15-yard penalty. It'll be third down.
Now, Coach Scholich is not going to like that penalty. It's an ill-advised penalty, obviously, at the time. Instead of 3rd and 8, it's going to end up being 3rd and about 16. Boy, that really hurts in terms of field position.
And I think that was on Buckhalter, obviously, as he was coming out from underneath the pile. A little pushing and shoving going on. The officials quickly getting control of the situation. So now the ball is pushed back to the 23-yard line. Yeah, it's down to 2nd down and 22 to go.
Yeah, it's a dead ball foul. It's 2nd down.
Now they're going to check Neesmith. Now they're bringing the other official in. Just want to make sure everything's okay before we get started. Once again, our referee, Hal Dowden. Back judge was Willie Weisbrook, who he was talking to.
Yeah, see, he called the official made an error, Ron, and he said it was 3rd down, but it's really 2nd down, as we said. Now, the only advantage of this penalty is it gives Nebraska a little bit more room in which to operate.
Well, Nebraska had problems getting in the play last week against Texas at times, and they're having the same kind of problems tonight here in the 3rd quarter, and they're going to have to burn a timeout. They weren't sure who was supposed to go in and who was supposed to go out. But Nebraska came up with a big block punt. Can they take advantage of it? Country trails Kansas 9-0, 11:09 to play in the third. Second down, 22. Ball is on the 23-yard line for the Huskers. Crouch rolls right. Looks, pass is going to be incomplete. Bobbled by Davison. Incomplete. Coverage again by Andrew Davison. Davison on Davison, and it brings up a third down situation where Nebraska tonight only 1 of 8, and that was a problem last week versus Texas as they were only 3 of 12 on third down.
Yeah, and all year long they've kind of struggled. I mean, they've been 38% coming into this game, but that is not like Nebraska. They're usually about 50% on third downs, but you got to hold on to the football, and you got to convert third downs, obviously, to be successful on offense.
This would be a wasted opportunity after blocking that punt. Crouch complete at the 15-yard line and quickly knocked out of bounds. It is Davison. And with that catch, he moves into the top 5 for Nebraska receiving. He is having a big night tonight again. And that'll bring up a fourth down, and they're going to have to punt it or kick the field goal. Brown has already missed one of 41 yards. This one will be spotted at the 21-yard line. It'll be a 31-yard attempt.
And Frank Solich's thinking here is to just get points and keep this game as close as possible and get within 1 touchdown of taking the lead.
From the left hash, the kick up and away, and Nebraska finally gets on the board. Josh Brown with a field goal, the young freshman out of Foyle, Oklahoma. And with 10:23 left in the third, Kansas still leads Nebraska 9-3. To kick it away, his team trails 9-3 with 10:23 left to play in the third quarter. Neesmith and Bowles set to receive the kick for the Jayhawks. And it'll be Bowles. Takes a big hit, stays on his feet. Penalty flags are thrown all over the place. Vedral on the stop. But we do have penalty flags.
And usually when the flag is thrown like that, it's a clip or blocking or holding. Blocking from behind.
Eric Clemens on the sideline.
Kansas Jayhawk guys, a very famous Kansas Jayhawk. Wilt Chamberlain, of course, passed away only a few short weeks ago. Even surpasses great size, 7'1", about 275 pounds. Guys?
Absolutely. Never fouled out of an NBA game, which is unbelievable. 1st and 10 from the 20 for the Jayhawks. Smith has some running room. Plenty of running room. To the 35, to the 40, and he slides as he hits the 41-yard line. Brian Shaw was in pursuit, the senior out of DeWeese, Nebraska. 22 yards on the scamper.
Nebraska's playing man-to-man defense. And what happens sometimes, it allows the quarterback to find a seam and scramble up inside.
Tell you what was impressive there is old Kyle Vandenbosch, all 6'4", 260 of him right behind Smith. Almost caught him from behind.
Well, the one thing about Vandenbosch, number 83, he's a play-hard guy. He goes full speed each and every play. And that's a good example of it.
Straight ahead, crossing the 45 up to the 47-yard line is Moran Norris, the junior out of Houston, Texas. Aaron Wills, the senior out of Omaha, Nebraska, on the stop.
And you know, subtly, the Kansas offense has used Norris tonight, pounding up inside. You know, the coaches talked about maybe handing the ball off 30 times to him, but not so. They've done it subtly, and it's kept guys like Aaron Willis, the guy you just saw, number 81, off balance a little bit.
Norris crosses the 50. First down, Kansas. Carlos Polk on the stop. Penalty flag is thrown right at the 45-yard line.
And not so subtle that time, but you saw the strength of Norris as he broke a tackle and got an extra 4 yards.
Boy, you don't want to start shooting yourself in the foot now with a lead of 9-3.
The athleticism in the Nebraska defensive front is just outstanding. And sometimes you got to grab as an offensive lineman just to keep those defensive linemen under control. And that's exactly what happened that time.
Well, instead of the first down, it'll still be second down. We'll call it 7 for Kansas. Dylan Smith has shown his mobility tonight. He's also shown great arm strength throwing a touchdown pass. 2nd and 7 inside of 9 minutes to play in the third. Looking right, has time. Little miscommunication intended for number 86, Michael Chandler.
And he was under a lot of pressure again that time because Nebraska brought 6. And sometimes you just don't see down the field. And I think, Ron, that was an example of Dylan not being able to see because Nebraska was in his face. But he's still hot tonight. He's 12 out of 18. As you look at Charlie McBride, and he knew coming into this game that Dylan Smith was a little bit of an unknown, but he knew he was an excellent athlete.
3rd and 7. Smith being rushed, gets away from the pressure, steps up in the pocket, lets the pass go, almost intercepted, intended for Chandler, and it falls incomplete as Mike Brown got a hand on it. Well, tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern, 8 Pacific, it's the NFL This Morning. Host Chris Myers is joined by Jack. And with 8:28 left in the third, the Huskers trying to make up a 6-point deficit. Nebraska averaging 18 yards a punt return tonight, doubling their regular season average. That would be good enough for second in the NCAA, and again it has given them decent field position as the ball is spotted at the 37-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Huskers, trailing 9-3. Crouch, pump fake, going deep, a little hitch and go, and he's going to overthrow his intended receiver, Bobby Newcomb, and a penalty flag is thrown on the far side of the field.
And it looked like Andrew Davis at number 24 grabbed Bobby Newcomb as he ran past him. And that's exactly what the call is. And one more time, it's an example of Nebraska going for the home run, the deep pass on 1st down. And you know, Andrew Davison's an interesting guy because he wears number, he's out of Detroit, he wears number 24 because his idol was Charles Woodson from the University of Michigan, who's now with the Oakland Raiders.
Well, that's what happens if you don't do well on Fox. They carve out Fox in your head and put you on a football field. That used to be one of our audio guys, and we miss him. 1st and 10, ball on the 47. The fake razzle-dazzle, they keep it over the left side. Good running room again, and once again, a lot of misdirection by Nebraska. Buckhalter picking up some good yardage.
You see what happens when that motion comes across. One of the linebackers or the safety has got to loosen up a little bit. So there's one less run defender up inside. And if you hand the ball off to a guy like Buckhalter, all he needs is a little bit of a seam.
And another 1st down for the Cornhuskers, aided by the penalty, the holding penalty on Davison. The 3rd penalty this half on Kansas. 1st and 10 on the 42 of Kansas. Buckhalter trying to get to the outside. Maybe picks up 2 on the play. Corralled by Chaz Murphy, the junior out of Galveston, Texas. Murphy, number 97, moves all over the place. And then we got a battle. A Jayhawk against Herbie Husker.
Who would win this fight?
Yeah, I don't know. Our producers from Kansas and our directors from Nebraska, so we got to be real careful.
I know, but the guy from Nebraska looks a lot bigger than that Jayhawk, doesn't he?
Well, he's full of more hot air.
Yeah,
2nd down and 9. 3-step drop, crouch. Pass is batted down again by Murphy. Chaz stands 6'4", 252, and he gets the big meat hooks up, and he can swat it down.
You know, it's interesting. Linebackers and down linemen, you don't always have to get pressure to affect the play. And look what a nice job Chaz Murphy does of seeing the ball thrown and then just getting up in the air with that 6'4" frame. He's a guy that the coaches love because he's fast, and he's an athlete, and he loves to play the game of football the way you're supposed to play it, full speed.
3rd down and 9. Crouch looking for the markers and overthrows Davison again.
4th down and 9.
And Crouch took a seat quickly after he let go of the football. Deion Rayford from that defensive end really laid the boom on him.
And Rayford out of Los Gatos, California, comes up the field and just levels Crouch as he throws the ball. That was a good, clean hit. That was a good, clean hit that time by Deion Rayford. All 270 pounds of him.
Hayden Felt standing on his own 45-yard line, set to kick it away. Fair catch is called right at the 15-yard line, and that is where Kansas will take over after a punt of just 26 yards. Let's check in for a Dr. Pepper game break with Kevin Frazier.
Earlier in the year, so they've done a good job there. Walt Harris has, the coach at Pittsburgh, of getting up for the big games.
Kansas is up for this big game. 1st and 10 from their own 15. They have the lead. Mitch Bowles busts his way over the 20 up to the 22-yard line. Pickup of 7 on the play, and that's what the Kansas coaches love to see. They were hoping to bang away at Nebraska, get 3 or 4 on 1st down, and they get that plus some on this one.
The offensive line is doing a nice job up front for Kansas of controlling the defensive front from Nebraska. The running backs, Bowles, Wimbush, and Norris are also doing a good job of running violently. When's the last time we saw a graphic like this where Kansas was out rushing Nebraska?
They're also, Kansas, 30 yards over what Nebraska usually gives up a game. Add to the total. Up to the 32-yard line. It is the workhorse again, Moran Norris.
You know, it starts up front, and you're going to see the Kansas offensive line come off the ball. Chris Enneking, number 68, does a good job. Mark Owen, number 66, does a good job. They're doing an excellent job of zone blocking up front. In other words, blocking the zone or an area, not necessarily a man.
Well, the linebackers are a lot closer to the line of scrimmage this week for Nebraska than they were last week versus Texas. Straight ahead. Not much running room on 1st down. Jason Lohr, the sophomore out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The coaches call him a soldier, and he's been fighting off an ankle sprain. He makes the stop.
You know, he had a great impact as a freshman last year. He's one of the few backups that also has a black shirt. As you look at Moran Norris come off the field, he is going to be a sore young man tomorrow, because when he runs in there, he either hits somebody or somebody hits him. He is going to be bruised up tomorrow morning.
Well, he has 13 carries for 72 yards unofficially right now. 2nd down and 9 for the Jayhawks, and Dylan Smith wants to talk it over with Terry Allen, who calls the plays. Well, Sunday at 9 p.m. to try it. Why not?
Well, you know what, he's done a great job of adjusting to what he has on the field through injuries. And he's asking these offensive linemen, as we look at Justin Hartwood, number 75, and we look at Chris Enneking, number 68, he's not asking them to do something they can't do. These guys do a better job of just straight ahead zone type blocking as opposed to pulling and getting out on the corner. And he's taking advantage of the abilities of these offensive linemen. As you look at the Kansas rushing offense, the first 2 games, 237 a game. They've just done a nice job tonight.
Well, the last 4 games, they've really kind of clicked it in gear, which the coach has said that they have gotten better. 2nd and 9. Smith with a little alley-oop, has a man just overthrown the outstretched hands of Michael Chandler. That is a pattern, I think, you come in August, that's such a timing pattern, Artie. You have to throw that over and over, and we asked him yesterday, he said, that's part of the problem. I don't have that timing yet.
Well, and he'll get it. He just has got to put a little bit more air underneath the ball. But it's something that you hope if you don't catch it, you maybe Craver, the defensive back who was covering on that, interferes, and you get a 15-yard penalty out of it.
Happy Halloween to you. 3rd down and 9 for the Jayhawks. Bowles in motion. Smith has some time, rifles it, good for a 1st down. Into Nebraska territory is Henry Childs.
They had perfect timing on that one. It's an easier pass on a slant, but Childs is the kind of guy that you want to get the football to because he's big enough and he's strong enough at 215 pounds to run with it. You take a look through the safety's eyes as Smith just drills the ball into the big 6'2", 215-pound running back wide receiver's hands.
Of course, his dad, Henry, played in the NFL, was a tight end. Keep it on the ground. Norris tries that left side. Might have gotten back to the original line of scrimmage.
You know, you come out to practice and you watch this Kansas offense work out, and the two guys that just jump out at you are number 33 Norris and number 28 Childs, because they're big and they're athletic, and you say, whoa, those guys someday will play, or maybe will be able to play in the National Football League because of their athletic ability.
This will be the 7th play of this drive, and Terry Allen wanted 13, 14, 15 play drives. He's getting it. 2nd down and 10. Smith is going to be dumped way back at the 38-yard line by Carlos Polk, the 5th sack of the evening by the Huskers. 4th sack of the year for Polk.
Carlos Polk and Tony Ortiz come off the corner. Watch Polk inside. 37 comes to the bottom of your screen. Tony Ortiz makes Smith step up into the pocket to his buddy Carlos Polk. Polk is another young man that plays extremely hard, and he's the vocal leader of this black shirt defense. His statistics back up what he says.
3rd and 21. Nebraska coming with a bunch of people, and Kansas tries to keep it on the ground and nothing doing. Eric Johnson, the linebacker, is there to make the initial hit, number 27. And Kansas had a promising drive going, but it is stalled, and they'll be forced to kick it away.
Nebraska attacked the Kansas offense on that last 3 or 4 downs. They got after him. They did not sit back and try to play reactionary football. They attacked them with a couple of blitzes, obviously, that ended up being successful.
Pelfanio averaging 41 yards a kick so far. And he gets a beauty away. Nice high spiral. At the 15-yard line, Nebraska with some running room. Newcomb, look out. Bobby Newcomb going down the sideline. One man to beat. He will go all the way.
Nebraska moved Bobby Newcomb from quarterback to wingback. One of the assets and one of the advantages of moving him to wingback was he could return punts again, because they didn't want their quarterback returning punts. And that's the kind of play that Bobby Newcomb can make that can break a game wide open.
Brown to add the extra point. That was a 49-yard kick, 86 on the return. High snap. London gets it down, and the kick is good. The longest punt return of the year for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Their 2nd return for a touchdown, and they finally have taken over the lead. Nebraska Cornhuskers, and now he's a punt returner and Mr. Everything, and his 86-yard kickoff punt return has given the Huskers the lead. Kansas. Mitch Bowles gets up to the 25-yard line. Here's a Dr. Pepper game break with Kevin Frazier.
Guys, Florida State in a world of trouble in Charlottesville. Finally, Chris Winkie.
Pollsters are thinking about that very possibility right now. As we talked about before, Florida State has not looked good the last couple of weeks.
6 touchdowns on the year for Mr. Newcomb. Winbush, the lone setback. Take that back, Norris. Over the left side.
Bobby Newcomb takes the football on that touchdown and runs up the middle. But the guy who does a great job is Ralph Brown, number 22. You see him right there, knock the punter, Joey Pelfanio, down. He engaged Pelfanio up the field and stuck with him the whole time. Great job by Bobby Newcomb, but just an awesome job by Ralph Brown, number 22, staying with his block.
Well, we talked about Kansas trying to handle adversity. Now we get to see if they can. Smith, the black shirts, as he tries to lunge to the 30. Steve Warren, the senior out of Springfield, Missouri, just holding on for dear life. He has played as well as anyone at that position this year for the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Charlie McBride, the defensive coordinator, coaches the defensive tackles himself. Nebraska's got a linebacker coach, a secondary coach, George Darlington, and a defensive end coach in Nelson Barnes. But the defensive coordinator, McBride, coaches the two defensive tackles.
3rd and 5, Nebraska bringing everybody in a white jersey. Smith gets rid of it, intended for Hill. Pass is incomplete, and Hill pays the price. Now he's tied up with Keo Craver. Well, later tonight, it's the Formula One Grand Prix of Japan, and you can see it live right here on Fox Sports Net. Eddie Irvine and Mika Hakkinen
punts the ball to Bobby Newcomb. Newcomb is back there with Joe Walker, but Newcomb is the guy lined up in the middle.
Alfonio gets it away, and another beauty. Walker from the 27-yard line. He'll try the right side, and again they have success. Still on his feet as he crosses the 45 up to the 47-yard line, a 44-yard punt, a 21-yard return. Let's check in with Eric Clemens.
Well, earlier in the game, Ron and Artie, the Nebraska bench was stoic, to say the least. Not much emotion being shown after that last defensive stand, which resulted in the punt return for a touchdown by Bobby Newcomb. Lots more life on that Nebraska bench. Lots more emotion. Just what Coach Frank Solich wanted to see about now. Guys?
Nothing like a big punt block or return to energize, Eric, the football team. You're so right. You can just feel it up here, that Nebraska bench start to be a little more electric.
Crouch has a lot of room on the option in the Kansas territory. Takes a hit as he goes to the 45 of the Jayhawk. A big key tonight for Nebraska, at least we've seen it the last 2 punts. 7 returns on punts tonight for 197 yards. That's better than a 28-yard average.
And you know, for our viewers at home, make no mistake about it, the ability of Bobby Newcomb is just outstanding, but Nebraska does a great job of blocking for those outstanding return men of Newcomb and Walker.
And that is the way this 3rd quarter will come to an end. 15 minutes are left to be played. Kansas held a 9-0 lead, but Nebraska has come back to take the advantage by 1. Games over the Kansas Jayhawks dating back to 1969, and right now they lead 10-9 as we begin the 4th and final quarter here in Lawrence, with Nebraska having the football on the Jayhawk 45-yard line, 2nd down and 2. Right side, running room, 1st down, and Nebraska doing what they do well, just running over people. Oh, fumble! Kansas says they have it, but I think he was down. That's what the officials are saying. Boy, that would have been costly for the Huskers. Update on an injury situation. Chad Kollner, the cornerback out of Kansas, he has a concussion, we've been told, and he will not return tonight, as one might expect.
As you look at Andrew LeClaire, there, 55, getting the signal from the sideline. He's going to turn around and make the defensive call. We talked about him before. He's got great range. He's a defensive quarterback in terms of calling the defensive signals.
Let's see if Nebraska just starts flexing their muscles on the offensive line. Crouch with the pitch back to Duran Diedrich. And a penalty flag comes flying in from deep in the secondary. Diedrich, the redshirt freshman out of Ontario, Canada, who has seen his playing time increase week by week. And it'll go against the Huskers. One of the big keys here in the second half for Nebraska has been their special teams, and it started off with a block punt.
Greg List comes into your picture here and just blocks the punt just perfectly early in the game. Bobby Newcomb takes the ball up the field on a punt return for a big touchdown. The key block by number 22, Ralph Brown. But watch this next return by Joe Walker and all the great blocks by guys in white shirts. That's excellent running, but it's just great blocking by a punt return team.
They've done a wonderful job tonight on special teams, and that is why they have the lead at 10-9.
And you know, Nebraska has played well all year on special teams due to the great depth and the talent of that depth that they have.
Newcomb in motion, 1st and 13. They get it straight ahead. Diedrich crosses the 20, down to the 17, to the 15-yard line. Durand Diedrich averages over 5 yards a carry, and boy, did he hit that hole quickly.
Well, he's not as big as Buckholter or Alexander, but when the man goes around in motion, Bobby Newcomb, the linebackers loosen up. And Diedrich, who hasn't played much tonight, is fresh. He feels good. He's not tired. And you are so right, Ron. He just hit the hole very, very quick.
Pickup of 19, one short of his longest run of the year. 1st and 10 from the 16. They just go straight ahead with Alexander, bullying his way inside the 10.
You know, now you can sense Nebraska's offensive line starting to dominate the Kansas front. They're wearing them down. Kansas has been running around all night, just doing a great job with their front people. But the Cornhuskers now up front, I think, are getting the better end of this thing. As you look at LeClaire again, getting the defensive signal. 59, big old John Williams, 300-pound nose guard out of Oklahoma City.
Kansas has had the ball more than 7 minutes than Nebraska has. Now Nebraska just trying to pound it away. They get up to the 15-yard line. Diedrich, and he's pushed back. Nice play by that Jayhawk defense again. Marcus Rogers leading the charge.
Marcus Rogers, number 8, gets off of a block and comes up and makes the tackle. And you see number 5 in there also, Carl Neesmith. Between Marcus Rogers and Carl Neesmith, they have been around the football all night. The coaches are allowing Rogers to line up tight to the line of scrimmage, shoot the gap, and be very, very aggressive.
3rd down and 3.
You look at all these guys in here for Kansas. Tough to run against that.
Crouch, plenty of running room, looking for Pater. Touchdown, Nebraska.
And Crouch does the right thing. They run an option to get away from those 8 men that were lined up inside to stop the inside run. About it at the beginning of the game, inside the red zone, Nebraska loves to run the option because of all the men that they see piled up inside to take on the power running game.
10th rushing touchdown for Crouch, and Mohamed Abdul-Rahim, the cornerback, the senior out of Washington, D.C., is down on the field for Kansas, and he has played very well tonight. And he is going to be 10-2 with 12-11 left to play in the 4th. 16-9. In case you just joined us, Kansas got a safety in the 1st quarter. 2-0. Got a touchdown in the 2nd. Made it 9-0 at halftime. And the key block on this Eric Crouch touchdown run came from his favorite receiver, Matt Davison.
Watch Matt Davison up top there, number 3. Just does an excellent job of tying up the man that he's blocking.
He also got a little piece of the jersey there.
And you know what? He knows he did a good job, and he's fired up, and you got to love it. But you cannot play wide receiver at Nebraska unless you are going to block and block well downfield, because so much of this running game is counted upon by the blocks of the wide receivers on the perimeter. That's why you have so many big wide receivers here in Nebraska.
7 plays, 53 yards. They used just over 3 minutes, and Mohamed Abdul-Rahim walking off under his own power, and that man capped the drive with a scamper for the touchdown on a 3rd and 3.
And Eric Crouch, when he gets an opening, can really accelerate up the field. He was 2nd in the state of Nebraska when he was a senior in the 100-meter.
Penalty flag is thrown, and Nebraska is backing up.
Prior to the snap, false start on the offense, 5-yard penalty, still try.
Well, you need this extra point, obviously, because you're up by 7 now. You want to make sure you go up by 8. So if Kansas should score, you force them to try for the 2 if there was less time left in the game.
Right, and the coaches right now that have their 2-point charts out, when to go forward and when not to.
It's a 25-yard extra point, and it is good. So Josh Brown with a field goal, an extra point. Eric Crouch with a touchdown, and Nebraska leads by 8.
Schumacher will try to be the blocking back for Irvine, guys.
Hey, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because I was just going to ask Ron Foulin a couple questions about auto racing, because I know nothing. And I can't drive very well. I just know how to start the car. Thanks for that definition, though, Kev.
Neesmith 3 yards deep, looks for the right side, has some running room, crosses the 20, and is ushered out of bounds at the 23-yard line. DeJuan Gross ran him out of bounds, and this is the problem. This looks like my stereo at home. You know?
Whatever had the colored wires? You know, this colored one goes there, different colors. Look at that mess.
Now, there's wireless headsets in the NFL. You know, it's the 90s, guys. Let's go. If you hear an unknown voice, it's probably Coach Solich joining our telecast, which he probably doesn't even realize it. 1st and 10 for the Jayhawks. 3 wide receivers to the left. We haven't seen this set in a while for Kansas. They used it a lot in the first quarter. Dylan Smith pass is complete to Chandler. He's going all the way. Goodbye.
About Kansas trying to get back into rhythm. What they did in the first quarter, as you so accurately described, is lined up in the no-back set, the empty formation. They did it again there and obviously made a big play. Wow, is that a big change?
That is a huge play. 77 yards, the longest pass play of the year for a touchdown for the Jayhawks, and I think they're going to be going for it.
Yeah,
Harrison Hill has stayed in the ball game.
Yeah, obviously you want to go for 2 here, and to me, what it does, it ends up giving you a chance, because even if you don't make it, Ron, a field goal still puts you ahead later on in the game.
For the tie.
Empty formation again.
Chandler in motion. Smith looking. They got it. They have been racked by adversity all year. Terry Allen says you have to believe we can beat them. He said the bird is not dead yet. Unanswered points. Nebraska gives up a 77-yard touchdown to the Jayhawks, and we are tied at 17 with 11:44 to play in the ball game.
Well, one thing about this game tonight, it's all big plays. Punt returns, punt blocks, long touchdown passes. This has become a game tonight of big, big plays.
A very short kick. Up to the 29-yard line is Joe Walker. Let's take a look at the touchdown pass to Chandler again.
You're going to see the ball thrown to the outside, and Craver, number 3, goes for the interception, and he obviously misses it. Chandler catches it and goes for the touchdown. Here's the 2-point play, and you're going to see Smith get out on the corner, and he does a great job of throwing the ball to Chandler. But here's Terry Allen getting his exercise for tonight. Now watch this athletic ability from Terry Allen, the old Northern Iowa quarterback. Yeah, he gets up in the air. Wow.
That was after the 2-point conversion, and nothing to lose, everything to gain. Back to live action.
I hope he didn't pull a hamstring on that, Ron.
I hope he didn't. To keep it on the ground, Buckhalter. Kansas guys just reaching for the football and grabbing it. Tim Bowers, the junior out of Columbus, Ohio, started as a safety for Kansas, now playing a linebacker spot on the stop.
Goodbye, Tim Bowers.
You know, you take a look at Bowers, and he's a guy that leads by example. He's going to go to medical school. The coaches love him. They call him a role model on this team, but he's a quiet young guy that leads by example.
2nd down and 5 for the Huskers. Crouch looks over the middle, has a man. It is complete up to the 35-yard line again. Bobby Newcomb with a big play. 1st down, Nebraska. The last time Kansas beat Nebraska, they were ranked number 9. Nebraska was. O.J. Simpson was on his way to win the Heisman, and as I mentioned, Terry was 11, Frank was 25, and I was thinking about finishing high school. Lyndon Johnson was president. The pitch back, plenty of running room, left side, knocked out of bounds, Buckhalter.
See, now you're looking at Nebraska, vintage Nebraska offense. They pound it up inside, they run a play action pass, and just when they have you back on your heels a little bit as a defensive unit, they run the option. That was a great job that time of Eric Crouch of just dishing the ball off to Corell Buckholder. Frank Solich knows it. He says, hey, come on, guys, we got to keep this thing going. Little power, little option, and a little play action pass.
1st and 10 from the 25. Crouch, they string it out. They're going to drop him at the 30. Carl Neesmith on the stop. Loss of 5 on the play. More great football coming. 2nd and 15. Inside of 10 minutes to play in the ball game. Tripped up at the 27-yard line. It is Corell Buckholder.
And you know, number 5 made the play again, Carl Neesmith. And what they're doing, Dick Mosley, the secondary coach, they're getting into 8 and 9-man fronts and getting the safety, 27, Kareem High or Carl Neesmith, up around the line of scrimmage. That's why you see number 5 show up in the backfield and around the line of scrimmage so much. He is having, Carl Neesmith, a fantastic night of running all over the field.
3rd down and 11, and Nebraska is going to burn a timeout to talk about it because this is huge. With 9:19 to play, and you can see Nebraska with 1 timeout left. Kansas still has a couple, and what a day in the Big 12 today. First of all, Iowa State battling back against Texas, only to lose on a last-second field goal up in Ames, Iowa. And congratulations, Dan McCarney. I know he doesn't like moral victories, but boy, oh boy, his team plays hard, and we're seeing it tonight from Terry Allen here at Kansas.
You know, the one shocker today that was kind of shocking is not that Colorado beat Oklahoma, but by that amount, because we had Oklahoma a week ago, and they had done such a great job against Texas A&M. You know, we were talking about teams playing hard. Take a look at these clips on Carl Neesmith. He runs all over the field. Wrap him up a little bit, but he really delivers a punch when he makes a tackle.
And he's still learning to play defense. That's what's scary.
Well, he's a junior college transfer that was a wide receiver and a quarterback at Butler Community College in Kansas, here in Kansas. So he's got a ways to go to learn the finer things of being a safety. But he can really run, and he can really hit you when he gets there. That's why he was highly recruited.
3rd down and 11. Kansas with 5 on the line of scrimmage. The linebackers are sneaking up. Crouch, plenty of time. Pass is incomplete. Intended, I think, for Bobby Newcomb or Wilson Thomas. Neesmith slipped, but luckily the pass was off the mark.
Great shot of a free safety looking at the eyes of the quarterback, sees the ball thrown, and he might have been in a position to intercept the pass if he hadn't slipped. And he knows it. He's saying, I would have got that, guys, if I would have stayed up.
Josh Brown will attempt the field goal. They're going to spot it at the 33-yard line. It'll be a 43-yard attempt for Brown. This would be his longest of the year. He missed from 41. He's made a 31-yarder. Snap's good. The kick on its way, and it is no good. Wide to the left, and Frank Solich misses a great opportunity.
It looks like a good snap and a good hold again, but as you said, Brown just gets a little bit too much of a twist on it, and the ball goes left, and he knows it. No! Let me try that one again.
You know, last night at practice, we were here as Nebraska had a walkthrough, and we noticed that Josh Brown, while he was practicing, was missing, and when he missed left, and he did it again tonight. Barely slipped it by.
Right there to the left.
Kansas with the football. Norris tries the right side, gets up to the 30-yard line. As the clock ticks, as we head close to 9 minutes, tied at 17. Who would have ever thought this could be this way tonight?
As you see Norris come off the field, again, Kansas is employing a lot of different formations, and they're shuffling tight ends, wide receivers in and out of the game. This particular formation now has 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 back in the game.
Chandler in motion. Smith will run the option. Nebraska closes quickly, and they just detonate David Winbush. Keough Craver's the one who lowered the pad on him.
Teams that see the option every day in practice, like the Nebraska defense does against the Nebraska offense, should be able to defend it really well in games. And that's exactly what happened that time with Craver. He came up and just made the play automatically.
3rd down and 5. 3 of 12 on the night for Kansas in 3rd down situations. 3 wide receivers to the left, empty backfield again. Nebraska jumping around. Here they come. They throw a little touch pattern, and it is incomplete, but we have a penalty flag thrown. Intended for Chandler. Craver on the coverage.
The Kansas coaching staff has calculated these pass interference penalties against Nebraska, because if you throw a fade up and you know it's going to be man-to-man coverage, you got a chance to catch it, but you also have a chance to create a pass interference situation. And that's exactly what's happening here tonight, as you see Craver, number 3, start to stumble, but he reaches out with his right hand and he commits a foul with his right hand. These were calculated by the Kansas offensive coaches.
Good check off at the line of scrimmage by Dylan Smith. Now he's being rushed, and he's going to have to eat the pigskin at the 35-yard line. The 6th sack of the night for Nebraska. For a Dr. Pepper game break, here's Kevin Frazier.
In the shopping center, but you know what? It didn't take away from his great ability. There is no question, ability-wise, he is the best football player in the country today, and runs like that show it, Kellen and Kevin. He is just a super athlete.
Loss of 11 on that sack by Nebraska sets up a 2nd down and 21. Moran Norris coming back into the football game for the Jayhawks.
And if nothing else, to run the ball, but for protection. You want to get a guy like Norris in the backfield to help in your blitz and help in your pass protection, because he used to be a tight end and he used to be just a blocking fullback.
7 to snap the football. Kansas has to hurry. 3 to snap it. 2 to snap it, and with 1, Dylan Smith calls a timeout. And we will do likewise. 6 minutes and 50 seconds left to play in the ball game. Terry Allen trying to pull the biggest upset of the year in the Big 12. He's tied with Nebraska. Timeout, talking to Terry Allen, the head coach of Kansas, and I think they were concerned that the play clock started a tad quickly, a skosh quickly on that, because Terry kept moving his arms around and around like a windmill. And I don't think he liked how fast that play clock started.
I think you're exactly right, Ron. And the reason he spent his timeout instead of talking to his players, talking to the official, is because you can get time back. And that's very important at this time. So that's what Terry Allen was doing.
Well, he didn't get any time back. 6:51 still left to play in the ball game. 2nd and 21.
And you see Norris right there, Ryan, lined up to help protect from this Nebraska rush.
He misses his block as Smith gets rid of it, and it is incomplete. Moran knew it. Norris didn't block anybody except Casper, the friendly ghost, on that play.
Well, the Kansas fans have got a lot to cheer about here tonight. And you see some more people shuffling in and out of the game for Kansas. Number 22, David Winbush, comes in the game.
Chandler takes a knee in the huddle. They break it. 3rd down and 21. They'd be kicking into the wind if they don't convert this 3rd down play. Winbush in motion. They give it straight ahead up to the 35, almost conceding the football. Steve Warren on the stop. Had some problems with his knee, and big number 96, who also is a pretty good singer, used kickboxing to strengthen his knee. And now Kansas will be forced to kick it away.
One thing when Norris has the ball, number 33, he never goes backwards. He always goes forward. No one knocks that guy backwards. He might be tackled for a loss once in a while, but it's never because he got knocked back. He always ends up going forward. Big, powerful man.
Nebraska was 6 on the line of scrimmage, now 5, 6, now 7. They're dancing around. They're setting up for a return. from the 25-yard line. Tripped up immediately is Walker. The best coverage of the night so far for Kansas. 39 yards on the kick, 2 on the return, and Nebraska will begin 1st and 10 on their own 26-yard line. Well, the executive producers of Fox Sports Net are Arthur Smith and Bill Borson. Coordinating producer of College Football Saturday is Roy Hamilton. Today's game was produced by Kansas's favorite son, Mike Helling, and directed by Nebraska's favorite son, Ken Fouts. The College Football Saturday studio show was produced by Lloyd Maxson, directed by Joe Whitus, and the Vice President of Field Operations is Andrea Jenkins. Thank you, folks. 5:53 to play. Crouch pitches it back. Buckhalter keeps his feet moving up to the 40-yard line. First down. Andrew LeClaire was holding on.
Talked about the blocking downfield, but watch what happens to Tim Bowers, number 16. He just gets blocked out of the play by number 66, John Rutherford from Nebraska. Great job by an offensive tackle going downfield, keeping his feet moving, and not stopping until the play was completely over. Big guy out of Midwest City in Oklahoma, 6'3", 300-pound sophomore.
1st and 10, inside of 5.5. Buckhalter spinning, hitting. LeClaire brings him down. No fumble. Ball popped out late. Just keeping it on the ground. Buckhalter over 100 yards running the football. 5.5 yards a carry. Was this a fumble? This may be close.
It is very, very close. And the
boy, it was coming out right as he hit.
It was coming out, but I think his knee was down, which is what the officials said. And thank goodness we don't have instant replay in college football. We'd be here all night.
We'd be here at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, but that was a good call that time by the Big 12 officiating crew.
2nd down and 4. Kansas defense stacks him up right at the 50. It'll be close to a first down. Deion Johnson, the senior out of Detroit, Michigan, and there is Josh Brown, the freshman kicker out of Foyle, Oklahoma, a very small town in Oklahoma.
He's got the right personality, though, for a kicker. He's cool. He's confident. He's kind of a talkative guy when we were talking to him at practice a couple of weeks ago. And he's very, very confident in his abilities. And that's certainly not a negative as a kicker.
3rd down and 1. Nebraska only 2 of 12 on 3rd down situations tonight. They keep it surging forward. It is going to be awfully close. I'm not sure he got it. They were 3 of 12 on 3rd down last week versus Texas, and the officials are going to have to look at this. Boy, oh boy. My eyes aren't that good.
Me neither. I'll tell you, you're right, Ron. It is very, very close. The interesting thing is, if you're Frank Solich and you don't make it, say it's 4th and inches, do you go for it or not? Or do you punt, or do you try to draw it off at the defense off sides and try to get the first down, in a cheap fashion, so to speak?
I think you got to go for it. And it is a moot point, 6 inches. Now he'll make a decision, but you've got those big linemen led by Dominic Raiola, Russ Hochstein, James Sherman, Dave Volk, get behind them. You only need 6 inches.
Well, Nebraska is going to go for it. Look for a potential trick play here. By trick, I mean where you try to draw the defense off sides.
4th down.
Or a quick count.
Crouch surging ahead, and I think he got it. He didn't get much, but he didn't need much.
And he's running the quarterback sneak behind the right guy, Dominic Raiola, the great young center. And you're going to see here, Kansas is trying to draw Nebraska offside. Look at all this movement in here by these guys. They're moving their hands, they're moving their feet. You can do that in college football. You can't do it in the NFL. But that's a good ploy, though, by Kansas, because it becomes then 4th and 6 if you draw Nebraska offsides.
Well, Marcus Rogers tried to get a hand on Crouch and pull him back, didn't do it. 1st and 10 on the 49-yard line. 3:35 to play in the game. Crouch looking down the middle, wide open. Newcomb to the 10, to the 5. Nebraska. On the touchdown, Crouch to Newcomb. Crouch did a great job of looking off the secondary, and Bobby Newcomb was wide open.
Crouch looked at 87, Tracy Wistrom on the other side, came back, as you said, and threw it to Bobby Newcomb. 1st and 10 passing. Nebraska has been sensational this year on the play action passes and 1st and 10 passing. Another example of a big play on 1st and 10 in the passing game.
And the extra point is good. Newcomb with an 86-yard punt return. A 49-yard reception on a pass from Eric Crouch. Nebraska leads by a touchdown. For the Nebraska Cornhuskers, a couple of touchdowns. He's given them the lead with 3:21 to play. Kansas will take over 1st and 10 from their own 20. The touchdown again.
And watch what happens here. Tracy Wistrom is the tight end. He runs here. Bobby Newcomb runs here. But watch the free safety right here. Carl Neesmith, he's in a 3-deep coverage, and he can't cover both guys coming down in the seam. Eric Crouch looks to Wistrom on the left. Neesmith bites on it, comes back, and throws the ball to Bobby Newcomb. Look at the look off there by Eric Crouch. It's the little things that quarterbacks do that turn into big things. Great job that time by a quarterback.
Smith dumps it off in the flat. It is incomplete, intended for Norris. One more look at the touchdown by Nebraska.
And watch what Eric Crouch does. He's going to look to his left and watch what happens. Right here. He bites on it, and then Crouch comes back across his body and just puts the ball up to Bobby Newcomb. When you run 2 people down the seams against 3 deep, it puts a lot of pressure on the free safety. He's got to watch the quarterback until the quarterback releases the football.
2nd and 10. Smith feeling the pressure, gets it away, and again the pass is incomplete, too low, and Smith took a shot.
The Nebraska defense loves these situations where they can just tee off and get after the quarterback because they know they're going to throw the football. Carlos Polk and Warren and all those guys inside, they love to rush the passer. You got to be impressed with Carlos Polk, don't you, Ron? I mean,
oh, yeah.
He runs around and he does everything for this defensive unit.
Gets his work ethic from his father, who's a construction worker. He's faster than Jay Foreman was last year at that position. 3rd down and 10. Smith into the flat. Chandler, it's complete. They mark him down at the 23-yard line. Only a pickup of 3 on the play, and that brings up a 4th down situation inside of 3 minutes. And Terry Allen's going to kick it away. I guess you just play the odds.
Yeah, and you got to just hope your defense can play good defense and stop Nebraska and force Nebraska to punt.
Tell them to hurry up. Timeouts left, each with 1. Delafino standing on his own 10-yard line. And the kick will hit at the 34-yard line and roll out of bounds, and that is where Nebraska will take over. They mark it at the 33-yard line. 42 yards on the kick, no return, no time off the clock.
And Nebraska that time switched Bobby Newcomb and Joe Walker. That time Newcomb was to the short side, which is why the punt was kicked over there, because they thought Walker was going to be there.
Just a reminder, Fox Sports News coming up immediately following our football game. We'll send you to our studios in Atlanta. They'll have highlights of the top 25 teams that were in action today. Plus, Tiger makes a big move at the Tournament of Champions down in Houston, Texas, where the rain is pelting him. And Dante Bichette, he has been traded. So most of you will be seeing Fox Sports News immediately following our game. Nebraska has the luxury of just running the football now, letting the clock run, and a timeout will be called by Kansas. Buckhalter's been the workhorse tonight as Alexander was moved to fullback. Buckhalter, the eye back, and it's been effective. That is Kansas's last timeout.
And, you know, we talked about at the beginning of the game that one of the things that was key for Nebraska was to get the fullback play up the par. I'm not sure they've done that. I think the tailback has played well, obviously. The kicking game's played great, and the passing game's been pretty good, but the fullback play is not up to what Nebraska needs.
And there's third down conversions. They are only 2 of 13 again tonight.
But you know what happens, though? If the fullback's not making yardage on first down, you're in a lot of second and longs and a lot of third and longs, which obviously become more difficult to convert. One of the frustrations in this Nebraska running game right now is Joel Makovic is not here anymore.
Right. And
he was so good and so dominant for 3 years. Because of injuries, and I think because of inexperience, they've been unable to muster, so to speak, the fullback position. Frank Solich knows something about being a fullback at Nebraska because that's what he used to play.
Well, it doesn't get any easier for Frank Solich. A&M at home next week. Kansas State at home the week after that. He has been in a dogfight tonight. Ball is loose. Fumble. Crouch was able to hold on to it. Boy, I tell you what, that was almost a major disaster.
One of the dangers of option football is you're always faking the football. And right here, he's going to fake it up inside to Alexander. He was going to keep it, but he bangs into the right guard who's pulling around, number 55, Russ Hochstein. And Hochstein knocks him into Alexander.
Well, he didn't let go of the football.
No.
Looked like a fumble, but he did hold on to it. 3rd down and 9. 1:48 to play. You can see what Crouch has done tonight. They'll run the option. They string it out, and they'll stop him for a yard loss. Andrew LeClaire with the defensive gem. Clock continues to move, but Kansas will get the ball back.
LeClaire once again showing his great range, not only in the passing game, but in the running game. He really chased down Crouch that time from behind. You gotta like this young Kansas defense. They're going to get better and better and better and really make a mark in this Big 12 next year.
Haydenfeld back to kick at his own 18-yard line. The numbers on Haydenfeld, not one of his better nights. They come after it. He gets it away. Henry Trials gets it, steps out of bounds at the 30-yard line. And Kansas will have the football with 53 seconds to work with, trailing by 7.
Kansas at the beginning of this game had some success, which allowed them to stay in this game. As we look at Charlie McBride, he's got to make a decision now how much zone and how much man-to-man to play, because guys like Dylan Smith can make the home run ball happen in a big-time hurry, especially when you're playing man-to-man.
Dylan Smith dumps it off in the flat. The pass is complete to Bowles, who is hit immediately for a loss. And the clock continues to run. They're going to have to hurry.
And Charlie McBride elected to play zone defense that time, which did not give up any big temptations for Smith to throw the football down the field. He dumped it off, and the linebackers rallied up to the dump off.
They got to hurry, wasting a lot of time, almost 10 seconds. Smith sees the blitz, throws it over the middle, and it is incomplete. And that'll stop the clock with 19 seconds left. Jason Gully, the intended receiver.
Tony Ortiz, number 37, all over Smith. And this is where the inexperience of Dylan Smith not being here in the spring and, you know, not being part of this system for a couple of years, I think hurts, because it's hard to run a 2-minute drill, because you just can't duplicate these kind of game pressures in practice. And Terry Allen's an ex-quarterback. He knows that. He knows it's very hard.
Final 19 seconds. Smith steps up in the pocket, running, wasting a lot of time, and that may do it. They only have 10 seconds to hustle up. Craver stopped him. Terry knows that it may be futile. This may be it. And that's going to do it. The Kansas Jayhawks gave Frank Solich and the number 8 team in the country everything they could handle, but Nebraska wins it 24-17. Artie, that's a great effort by the Jayhawks.
Yes, they did, and I repeat what I said before, Ron. They came out, they believed they could beat Nebraska. They had some early success that reinforced that belief. But the other thing they did, they ran the ball right at Nebraska up inside, and their secondary, for the most part of this game, played well, and they kept that play-action passing game of Nebraska's under control. A valiant effort tonight, Ron, by the Kansas Jayhawks.
Well, Eric Crouch led the Huskers to 297 yards in the second half. Unofficially, they had 366 yards. Kansas with 333. But Bobby Newcomb was the big star, of course, with the 49-yard touchdown reception, the 86-yard punt return, and the autographs that follow being the star. But Nebraska wins it, and they set up the showdown next week in Lincoln with the Aggies of Texas A&M. Once again, the final score, 24-17. Nebraska wins it. Be sure to tune in next week for more college football Saturday action. The day kicks off with Memphis hosting Southern Miss. Then it's a Pac-10 doubleheader. The early game will feature Arizona State at USC or Washington at Arizona. The late game, Washington State at Oregon. Coverage begins at 3 Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. Check your local listings for the games and the times in your area. Once again, the final score, Nebraska wins it 24-17. For Artie Gigantino and Aaron Clemens, I'm Ron Thulin. College Football Saturday has been a presentation of Fox Sports Net. Fox Sports News is next in many areas.